2017 regular meeting of the Fairfax County School Board will now come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, a moment of silence, and the performance of the national anthem by the Sandburg Middle School Jazz Band under the direction of Christian Dolan and Joe Labrie. Beautifully done, Sandburg Middle School Jazz Band. And thank you, parents, for coming out tonight and sharing your talented children with us. In order to comply with Section 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia, it's necessary for the board to certify that since the Fairfax County School Board convened a closed meeting on June 8, 2017, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the board during the closed meeting. Do I have a motion? Moved by Ms. Hines, seconded by Mrs. Corbett Sanders. All those in favor? That is unanimous. And with that, I am going to turn the gavel over to Mrs. Strauss.
Thank you, and I will call on Ms. Evans for a motion.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I move that the board appoint Dr. Scott Braybrand as the Division Superintendent of Fairfax County Public Schools for the period July 10th, 2017 through June 30th, 2021, and authorize the chairman to execute the contract.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Evans.
Yes, I would like to speak to my motion. Thank you very much. On behalf of the board, I am very pleased to introduce our next guest and to welcome him back to Fairfax County Public Schools. We are very fortunate to have Dr. Scott Braybrand returning to FCPS as our next superintendent. He is joined this evening by his wife, Debbie. Could you both stand and get a round of applause? We haven't even voted yet. Their two sons were not able to join us tonight, but we are very much looking forward to welcoming them here very, very soon. One thing that stood out to us in our board conversations with Dr. Brabrand is the true passion he brings to education, and particularly to Fairfax County Public Schools and to the Fairfax County community. He has been described as tireless in reaching out to the many stakeholders that contribute to our school system: students, parents, teachers, administrators, and community members, and having a visible presence in the schools and in the community. He's also known for his candor, his approachability, his humility, and his good nature. Dr. Brabrand first came to FCPS in 1994 when he started here as a social studies teacher at Herndon High School. He moved quickly through the ranks from assistant principal to associate principal to principal of Fairfax High School in 2005. 4 years later, Dr. Brabrand was promoted to cluster assistant superintendent in Region 4, where he was responsible for 29 schools and more than 22,000 students, and helped raise student achievement in that region significantly. During his past 5 years as superintendent of Lynchburg City Schools, Dr. Brabrand also saw increases in the Virginia Standards of Learning pass rates in math and reading, as well as an increase in graduation rates, and particularly for economically disadvantaged and minority students. While many of us already know Dr. Brabrand and his significant accomplishments with FCPS, we also appreciate the positive qualities he possesses and will use as he steers our schools into the future. He has a wealth of experience in education and a broad perspective of the job of superintendent and everything that it takes to get to that point. To provide some of his background, Dr. Brabrand graduated from Georgetown University's School of Foreign Service with a Bachelor of Science degree. He earned a master's degree in education from George Washington University and completed his doctorate in educational administration as part of Virginia Tech's Educational Leadership and Policy Studies program. I also do want to take a moment to express the board's sincere gratitude and appreciation to Dr. Steve Lockhart for his stellar leadership as interim superintendent during this period of transition, especially guiding us through another difficult budget year and all the challenges that entailed. Dr. Lockhart and Dr. Brabrand are already starting the transition, and we look forward to Dr. Lockhart continuing his role as deputy superintendent and working closely with Dr. Brabrand. Thank you, too, to our consultant, Dr. Hank Gemitro of Hazard Young and Attia and Associates, for guiding us so skillfully through this deliberative and very labor-intensive process. The school board also wants to thank the citizens of Fairfax County for providing substantive and useful insights throughout our process in finding our next superintendent. This wonderful outcome would not have been possible without the active participation of our community. When we announced our selection, the news was greeted with tremendous enthusiasm and universal applause. The community obviously is looking forward to Dr. Brabrand's homecoming and a long and productive relationship with FCPS. His deep knowledge and understanding of FCPS and of Virginia, coupled with his creative leadership abilities, will ensure that FCPS continues our excellence in serving our students, our schools, and our community. We look forward to working with Dr. Brabrand as we continue to advance our portrait of a graduate and fully implement our strategic plan. So Scott and Debbie, welcome home. We are so glad to have you back, and we are extremely excited to begin this journey together. And with that, well, I believe Mr.
Yes,
Mr.
first,
Moon?
Mr. Moon, as the second, would you like to extend your welcome
Yes, could I say
before
a
we
few
take our
words of
vote?
greetings to Dr. Brabrand? Before I do that, could we give Dr. Lockhart a round of applause?
Yes.
You know, Dr. Lockhart, I know that you still have another few more weeks before Dr. Brabrand officially arrives back here on July the 10th. But I want to thank you. I know that you had to make at least 3 hours of a round trip. That's a long commute, and with a long, many evening meetings, and with the young children. I don't know how even you have done that, but we thank you for your service to us. Dr. Brand, the first time I met you, you were an associate principal at Lake Braddock, but I saw that a quickly rising superstar in you. And then you went on, of course, as we know, that you went on to Fairfax High School as the principal and assistant superintendent for Cluster 4. But I knew that before I retire from school board, I will see you as a superintendent somewhere, of course, very close to us, none other than back here in Fairfax County. I'm so happy to see you because we are all counting on your leadership, continuing leadership for many years to come. Another reason I'm so happy about you and having you as our next superintendent is the fact that you are bilingual and have so much similar accent that I do, even though yours is Spanish
better,
and
Mr.
mine is Korean. So that maybe you and I, in sometime in the future, could converse, you in Korean, I in Spanish. I look forward to those days. And thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Before I call for the vote, I just want to say again how pleased and excited we are. And I remember you when you were a teacher at Herndon High School. So this is a bit of a coming home, and we are very excited and very pleased that you have accepted our invitation. So with that, I would like to call for the vote. Oh, I'm sorry. We have some other speakers. Ms. Schultz.
So I just want, not only do I thank Dr. Brayran for being here tonight, the board has been through a tremendous effort to come to you. And it isn't a decision that we made lightly. But I do want to share an anecdote with you, because sometimes we're in a fishbowl and we think we make great decisions and we just hope we're right, or we think we're right. But I have a nephew who just graduated this past weekend from not an FCPS school. And my niece, who is a graduate of Fairfax High School in, I think back maybe during your tenure, many of her peers are now, blessedly, teachers in FCPS. These are students who went all the way through, went off to college, and they've come back to us, and now they're in 3rd grade or in 5th grade. And the sheer enthusiasm being at that graduation party from a young cohort of teachers, when I started talking about, so what do you think about our new superintendent? I saw in their eyes the reflection that we made a good decision. And that enthusiasm is waiting for you when you come and take this position. And it's not just from the board, it's all the way through. And we're very much looking forward to you joining us.
Thank you, Ms. McLaughlin.
So I have had the distinct honor of participating now in 2 superintendent searches in the 5.5 years I've served on the board. And one of the things I wanted to make sure and share tonight with our community is that not only am I extremely excited about Dr. Braybrand joining our school system, but to be able to find a candidate who not only has the intellect and the capability to lead a great organization like FCPS, but Scott, your humility and your authenticity was so deeply palpable that for me, the confidence as a mother still with children in the school system, married to an alumnus of this school system and 2 older sons who have graduates, the excitement I felt about your candidacy in joining us just can't be described. I did spend 6 years at Georgetown. In fact, I was there as a college admissions officer in your senior year. So we are a year apart, but I was 1 year ahead of you. So I was walking the campus while you were there. Don't worry, no stories came up my way. But how much the Jesuit influence of men and women serving others, and the desire to always look at every issue with the greatest of complexity and to really examine it wholly that is what I know you are going to bring to our school system, and I am so thrilled that we are very fortunate that you are going to come lead us. Welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Corbett Sanders.
Yes, thank you. Scott, or Dr. Brabrand, it's always a pleasure to see you, but it's a particular pleasure tonight as we make this appointment. It is a kind of homecoming, and it's a very sweet one because we know as a board that your enthusiasm, your willingness to work across teams in collaboration, and the joy that you bring to your work every day is something that is infectious and I think is a key part of the caring culture that we want to foster in this community and in this school system. So welcome, and we all look forward to working with you.
Okay, now we're ready. I will call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the appointment of Dr. Scott Brabrand as our next superintendent of schools, please raise your hand. That vote is unanimous. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Dr. Brabrand.
Dr. Brabrand? Dr. Brabrand, would you like to, after receiving another congratulations, would you like to come up and say a few words to us?
Is that Dr. Burke, Linda Burke back there?
Good evening. Dear Chair Evans and members of the Fairfax County School Board, leadership team, parents, students, staff, assembled guests, residents of Fairfax County School System, I humbly accept your appointment as Superintendent of Fairfax County Public Schools. Almost 25 years ago, I fell in love with Fairfax County Schools, and it is the ultimate honor and privilege to return here to serve and lead this school system for the entire Fairfax County community. I also just want to take a moment. I think it's SRO night tonight, and I want to take a moment to applaud the men and women in uniform that protect our students, our staff, and our schools every day. I'd ask you to stand and let's give them a round of applause. Now, I'm sure you all are going to do that later, but one of the things in leadership, and this is not in my remarks, is just noticing who's in the room and paying honor and paying attention to who that is and to their voices and their perspectives. And I hope to do that tonight and next month and for many years to come. Tonight, my heart truly is full of thanks and of love to my family and to my Fairfax County Schools family. First, I really am. I'm very, very thankful. I'm thankful to my family, to my wife, Debbie, and to my boys, Bennett and William, who just turned 14. Today was their last day of school, and as a father, I just couldn't have them miss the last day of school before they make a transition back. But I'm so lucky to have a wonderful family who has supported me and has collectively embraced the challenges associated with a husband and a dad in public service. I also want to thank my brother Doug, his wife Sarah, and two children, Hugh and Soren, who are soon to be enrolling their children in Richmond City Public Schools. My mother Agnes, who served as an English, journalism, and alternative education teacher in Newport News City, Virginia schools, and my late father Jim, who was not only my dad, but he was my school's PTA president in elementary school and in middle school, and served on the Newport News City Council PTAs in the years immediately after the integration of schools here in Virginia. As you can see, I was raised in a family with values that directly centered on supporting and embracing Virginia public education. So it was easy for me when I called them 25 years ago and told them that I was taking that Georgetown education and that corporate career that I had started, and I was going to switch careers and become a part of Fairfax County Public Schools. But there's another family tonight I'd also like to thank, and that's the Fairfax Schools family. I want to thank all of those who took a chance on this young intern so many years ago and helped mentor me along the way in my career in Fairfax County. Dale Sander and Jan Leslie at Herndon High. Linda Burke, who is here at Lake Braddock. Linda, please stand and be recognized by this group. George Stepp and Ann Monday and Lillian Lowry at Fairfax High, and Jack Dale and Richard Manusco here at Gatehouse. I also want to thank Alan Lease and Brad Drager, both who served here in Fairfax County and helped me make a choice 5 years ago that was difficult, to leave this family and pursue a superintendency in Lynchburg City Schools, a wonderful school system and a wonderful Virginia community. I have a final Fairfax family thank you. I know for some, the idea of a Virginia-born and bred superintendent coming from a smaller school district might be for a few a cause for careful discernment. But it's happened here in Fairfax County Public Schools before. Over 30 years ago, a Virginia hailing from Bedford County, just outside the outskirts of Lynchburg, worked his way up through Fairfax County Schools and became superintendent. For many of the early years of my career, even before I knew him, I would walk into a building named for him, and I faced his portrait as you walked in. You would see his portrait as you walked in, as I walked into school meeting and discipline hearings. Years later, when I became principal at Fairfax High, I was leaving church services one day when I felt a gentle touch on my shoulder. And when I turned around and I saw the man in the portrait for the first time, it really was a transformative moment. His words were simple and pure. Welcome, Scott. We're glad to have you here in Fairfax. His inclusiveness, his professionalism, and his humble yet steady and strong approach has served as a roadmap for me, and I'm confident without his legacy, I would not be here tonight. I invited him to be here this evening, and unfortunately, he could not make it. But I want to thank former Fairfax County Public Schools Superintendent Jack Burkholder for his inspiration and support of me. Let's give him a round of applause. My second message tonight is one of love. I've loved this school system for all these years. The students, the staff, the parents, the businesses, the organizations, everyone that calls Fairfax County home. I also love the work that this board has done the past 3 years. The development of the strategic plan, Ignite, that focuses on the essential areas for a 21st century education. Student success, caring culture, a premier workforce, and resource stewardship. I want to applaud my predecessor, Karen Garza, and this school board for working so well to develop this dynamic plan, framed by Portrait of a Graduate and a focus on the 21st century skills of creativity, communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and citizenship. This plan and this portrait are the foundation that can and will lead Fairfax County Public Schools into its proper place as the premier school system in the United States. Now is not the time to start from scratch. It's the time to accelerate the implementation of the strategic plan Ignite through proper prioritization and review. I promise to be the listener, the learner, and the leader that can make this vision a reality. Now, I know all this talk about love tonight might seem to be just wishful thinking, right? All the challenges of public education today are real. The challenges in Fairfax County Public Schools are real. The issues are complex, and yes, the solutions sometimes seemingly elusive. But I've always believed that love conquers all. If we approach each other with open hearts, with open minds, we can and will find the solutions to our challenges. It requires trust. It requires respect. It requires transparency. And it requires an unwavering belief in our mission by our teachers, our staff, our students, and families. I pledge to you tonight that I will model these values, and I humbly and respectfully ask all of you, for your commitment to these values as well. Years ago, I heard my friend, former Superintendent Bud Spillane, use the phrase, "The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing." Now, I was a little skeptical at first, and I know there's some that still are, but it was a sticky turn of phrase. But what has made it last so long in the culture of Fairfax County Public Schools for so many years is that there was a whole community that believed it. There was a whole school system that believed it and acted upon it. If we stay focused on student success, the first element of the strategic plan, as our core priority, if we pay attention to that core relationship in the classroom between the student and the teacher, if we make sure students' hopes, dreams, and education are the main thing in Fairfax County Public Schools, we will surely be the premier school system in this country. I know that with a caring culture, a premier workforce, and with responsible stewardship, supporting student success, all these elements of the strategic plan, together we will reach our goals. Thank you again for giving me the opportunity to serve this amazing school system and community. I am confident that the best days of Fairfax County Public Schools are ahead of us. Thank you very much and have a great evening.
Dr. Braybrand, we would like to invite you for the first official picture with the school board. If you would like to come down, Dr. Lockhart, join us, and the leadership team, and Mrs. Braybrand. I return the gavel to Ms. Evans.
Thank you, Mrs. Strauss. We now go to, we did have a slight agenda change. We now go to 2.04, appointment of Auditor General, and I call on Ms. Hines for a motion.
Thank you. I move that the school board appoint Esther Coe as Auditor General effective July 24, 2017, and approve the employment contract as detailed in the agenda item.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Mrs. Corbett-Sanders. Ms. Hines, would you like to speak to your motion?
Sure. Unfortunately, Ms. Coe couldn't be here tonight, but we will have her at a future meeting so people can have a chance to get to know her. She will join us toward the end of July. We are very pleased to be bringing her on to the school system. The position of Auditor General is a relatively new one for the school board. We have had an independent audit function, an audit committee for several years, since before I was on the board 6 years ago. But in the last 6 years, we have made that audit function more robust. We've added people to the committee, and we have actually added 2 community members to the committee to make it more independent. And we also created, a few years ago, the position of Auditor General. So the Auditor General right now we have an acting Auditor General. But Esther Coe will take over as our new Auditor General and will be leading the Office of the Auditor General, the OAG. So I think it's very important work that we do as a school board to make sure that we are keeping an eye on programs and policies and regulations in the school system to make sure that money is being spent in the best way on behalf of the community. We know that we have to be careful stewards of the community's tax dollars. So Ms. Coe comes to us with a tremendous resume, and I invite anyone to ask anyone on the board questions about her, but I myself very much look forward to working with her.
Mrs. Corbett-Sanders, would you like to speak to your second?
Yes, I hope that when Mrs. Coe can join us at the first meeting, we'll all have an opportunity to speak more directly to her. But I did want to personally thank the 2 citizen members of the audit committee who were so helpful in working with us on the panel as we interviewed a number of different candidates. And it was just amazing how well Ms. Coe stood out above any of our other candidates, and she brings to us a rich background in international audit. She has been with very large organizations, and so we are really looking forward to that. But she also brings to us, I talked a little bit about Dr. Brabrand's joy, and I would say that Ms. Coe brings to us a spirit of collaboration and working together as a team to look towards continuous process improvement. And so I think that we're off to a good start in the next year with some fantastic leaders working together with the existing dream team that we call FCPS. So I look forward to welcoming Ms. Coe soon.
Thank you very much. And with that, I will call for the vote that the school board appoint Esther Coe as Auditor General effective July 24, 2017, and approve the employment contract as detailed in the agenda item. All those in favor? That vote is unanimous, and it passes. We now go to item 2.05, appointment of Assistant Superintendent, Department of Special Services, and I call on Ms. Schultz for a motion.
Yes, I move that the school board appoint Teresa Johnson as Assistant Superintendent for Special Services effective July 5th, 2017, and authorize the chairman to execute a contract reflecting this action.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Wilson. Ms. Schultz, would you like to speak to your motion?
I would, thank you. So as the ACSD liaison, I think for 5 years, and having, I have a lot of passion buckets, but having specifically a passion for children with special education needs, this position is, very near and dear to my heart. I think that this is one of the most significant positions in FCPS because of the complexity that naturally comes with the needs of the children, the ability to meet families where they are, who are so looking for the needs of their children to be met, but also the capacity of this individual to work across FCPS. This is a facilities issue. This is a transportation issue. This is a legal matters issue. This is an integration into the curriculum issue. There's no place in FCPS that the head of DSS doesn't have to touch and work beautifully across. And you have two predecessors with whom I've worked so closely. Your experience specifically with special education in the classroom, your breadth of experience across in administrative positions within FCPS made you rise to the top. And I told Jane Lips she had very tiny shoes to fill. You have slightly bigger shoes to fill than Jane Lip, and I welcome you to the transition. And what you are going to bring to this organization on a going forward basis is so valuable to this position. We can't wait for you to take over as DSS.
Mr. Wilson, would you like to speak to your second?
Thank you, Madam Chair. When I joined the board, one of the very first principals I met was the principal for Chantilly High School. When I visited the school, I was just really stunned and amazed by what had been created by the principal there. She had been the principal for 11 years, I think this year, and clearly just had being a principal of a very large high school down to science. And it was so reassuring. And to be honest with you, walking around the school with her and then subsequently had a breakfast meeting in their culinary kitchen where they were fixing breakfast for a business group that was there, and the students brought out and served the food that they made, and they had maitre d' and table servers and clears. It was just an impressive, well-oiled machine. And so I would just say that I was struck by her competency. And I guess, since Mr. Schultz brought up shoe sizes, people commented to me, you've got a great principal in Teresa Johnson, but I should have asked them, how big are her feet? Because Dr. Jane Lipp has very large feet, and so those shoes will be very hard, very difficult to fill. But I have absolute confidence that Teresa Johnson is the exact right person to bring the energy and the commitment to that job. So I am very happy to second her motion, or the motion.
All right, now I will call for the vote that the school board appoint Teresa Johnson as Assistant Superintendent for Special Services effective July 5th, 2017, and authorize the chairman to execute a contract reflecting this action. All those in favor, please raise your hand. That vote is unanimous and it passes. Thank you very much. Now I'd like to call on Dr. Lockhart to say a few words about Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's with great excitement that I welcome Teresa Johnson to the position of Assistant Superintendent of the Department of Special Services. Teresa brings a wealth of leadership and special education experience garnered from her 28-year career in education. She's certainly knowledgeable on the wide array of strategies to help support students learn, no matter what their needs. And she's committed to our students' well-being and overall success. Teresa is also well-versed in all state, federal education law requirements as it pertains to special education. As you know and you've heard tonight, Teresa has served as the principal of Chantilly High School since 2011, where she oversaw the education of more than 2,700 students. As the assistant principal of Chantilly, Teresa served as the administrator for Category A and B special education services. She's also served as a special education pyramid resource specialist for FCPS and a special education department chair at Centerville High School. Teresa began her career with FCPS as a learning abilities teacher at Centerville High School. So she has certainly great experience, great leadership, and we're very excited to welcome Teresa to the position of Assistant Superintendent of Department of Special Services. And now I'd ask if Teresa would address the board. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this honor of being selected as the new Assistant Superintendent for Special Services. I am very humbled by the warm reception that I received here tonight, and I feel very fortunate to be here on such a memorable night. And welcome and congratulate Dr. Brabrand, and I'm so happy that I get to work with him again. I actually, in one of my positions as a Pyramid Resource Specialist, was the Pyramid Resource Specialist for Fairfax High School. So I'm very happy to be working with him again. This is a very exciting opportunity for me, an opportunity to serve Fairfax County Public Schools, our students in our schools, in a new position. My background as a special education teacher, special ed department chair, school-based administrator, and educational specialist in central office have prepared me to take on this role with enthusiasm. More importantly, as a parent of a child who receives special ed services while in school, I bring a perspective from multiple stakeholders. During my 28 years in FCPS, I've long supported the Department of Special Services and the vital role it plays in supporting the unique needs of our students. I know I have big shoes to fill. Dr. Lip has been an amazing role model for me over the years, and she's kindly agreed to continue to be available in a mentoring role during my transition into this new position. I am truly honored to be able to follow in her footsteps. I look forward to meeting individually with each of you in the future so that we may collaborate to support all our students. So thank you again.
Thank you very much, and welcome. I'm now going to go back a step and make just some housekeeping announcements before we go farther. If you would like to review a copy of the agenda or any agenda item that's being discussed tonight, that information is on the table by the auditorium entrance. The agenda is available by going to School Board on the FCPS homepage and selecting Board Docs under Upcoming School Board Meetings. The meeting is also being streamed live online. Select School Board from the full menu and then click on the Watch Live button on the School Board Meetings webpage. Please turn off or silence your cell phone. And with that, we will go now I'm going to call on Mrs. Strauss for a motion.
Thank you. This evening we are honoring a departing school board member, and Ms. Huff is here tonight. And Ms. Huff, if you would like to just come up a little closer while I read the resolution honoring you and thanking you for your service. There you go. Thank you. Whereas Jeanette Huff has served with distinction as an at-large member of the Fairfax County School Board since January 2016, and as a member of the board's Public Engagement Committee and Audit Committee, and whereas she skillfully served as the board's liaison to the Human Relations Advisory Committee, the Title I Parent Advisory Committee, the Career and Technical Education Advisory Committee, and the Community Criminal Justice Board. And whereas she brought a unique insight to her role as a board member, as a graduate of Fairfax County Public Schools, a mother of 3 current FCPS students, a dedicated volunteer in her children's elementary school and their sports activities, and a PTA member and contributor and an active volunteer with multiple nonprofit community organizations. And whereas Mrs. Huff actively engaged with her constituents across the county through electronic communications, social media, town hall meetings, and office hours to listen to and understand their viewpoints. And whereas she consistently presented an analytical perspective and sought to provide a balanced overview of the costs, benefits, and options when considering issues before the board. Now therefore be it resolved that the Fairfax County School Board extends its highest commendation and deepest appreciation to Jeanette Huff for her outstanding service and dedication to the Fairfax County School Board and to our students and community members. I so move.
I have a second. Seconded by Ms. McLaughlin. Ms. Strauss, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I just would like to personally thank Mrs. Huff for all of your hard work and wish your family well. Mrs. Huff's family, you're moving to Jakarta, is that correct? A long way away. So we hope that you get settled comfortably and that your children adjust well. And thank your family for serving our country, because I believe it's your husband's job that is moving you. So thank you very much on our behalf for your service to the school board and also to the country, and wish you the best of luck and your children as they make this very large transition. Thank you.
Ms. McLaughlin, would you like to speak to your second?
Yes, I would not only like to echo the wonderful words of praise from both Ms. Strauss as well as the resolution, but also to say what a deep pleasure it's been for me as someone who shares the Braddock District residency with Ms. Huff. The many of the young families who've shared with me in the Braddock District how much they have so appreciated having you serve, and the way that you have extended yourself so incredibly to our families. To have such young children and to be so tireless in the way that you have reached out to the community throughout the entire county, it's been inspiring as your colleague to watch that. And well, I will deeply miss having you and the wonderful perspective that you help bring to this board, because when there are 12 members on this board, we benefit from the diversity of points of view. And you were always very respectful in delivering your thoughtful perspective. And even when we didn't agree with one another, I always knew that you understood that we were always coming from a place of respect. And I want to thank you for how you have carried yourself from the day you were elected and sworn in and we could serve together. I look forward to receiving email updates to hear how you and your family are doing. And please know that many of us here will be praying for your safety and your wonderful adventure that awaits you and your family, and that you will be missed.
Ms. Hines.
Yeah, thank you. I also just wanted to say thank you for your time with us. I have enjoyed serving with you on the audit committee. I think you have a very sharp mind, particularly when it comes to matters of finance and asking the right kinds of questions. So I think I have found you to be a quick study, which I'm sure you've heard before. You know, you have a stellar academic record, and so I'm sure that you know people look up to you as someone who is thoughtful and knowledgeable and takes time. I also, I don't know if others have noticed this, but I think you have been an efficient and thoughtful participant in our meetings, and you've been a model, I think, for a lot of us that way. Politicians, we tend to go on, right? And I think you've been a really very good about that. But as we all know, family comes first. And we all feel that way. And everybody in this room sometimes has to make tough choices where family is concerned. And I really admire you, and I thank you for serving your family as your family serves our country abroad. And I know that when you're in that environment, you go where they send you pretty much, right? And there are a lot of people in this community who understand that. So we wish you well. We hope you keep in touch. And thank you again for your service.
Ms. Derenak Kovacs.
Hi, Jeanette. It's really been a pleasure to get to know you. And when you first got on the board, I really enjoyed us sharing our stories about our kids and the mutual things that they had in common about parenting in our schools. I do, too. I really appreciated your work ethic as a board member, and I truly appreciated your willingness to reach out in conversation, even when you knew sometimes the conversation was not going to be easy, and I do appreciate that a lot. It has just been, as I said, a real wonderful to get to know you, and I can't say that I wish you and your family the very best as you begin this new adventure abroad. I know it's going to be exciting and new, and you shared with me you haven't lived much outside this area, so it's going to be a big adventure, and I'm sure you're just going to love it. So best of luck to you, and thank you for being part of our board.
Ms. Schultz.
So, Ms. Huff, I'm pretty impressed that I've heard the word model repeatedly from my colleagues, because I actually think that you potentially are the mold, the model of a board member who has a breadth of skills that they bring to the office and uses them wisely and accountably. You're a board member who understands the nature of the role being in service. You served not only in service to the organization, in service to each other as board member, but most notably as a countywide elected official. You're one of the few countywide elected officials in this, in Fairfax County, and it's a loss to lose a model. Your family understands service. I come from a military family, and while your husband's service is slightly different, he models it. I'm going to miss Charlie as much as I'm going to miss you. But children serve too, and you're walking into a veritable reading rainbow in Jakarta that, you know, it's a whole new world that you're going to be experiencing, and there's going to be many reading rainbow type of stories you're going to experience with your family that they'll keep with them forever. We're losing, the community is losing, but your family is serving all of us, and for our nation, for our county, I am thankful. I'm thankful to you and to your family for everything that you brought to this role, and this empty chair is missing you already.
Ms. Corbett Sanders?
Nice having to follow up on you, Elizabeth. Thanks. But Jeanette, you will be missed. But I want to thank you for the thoughtful and deliberate manner in which you approached all things board related. I also want to thank you for your willingness to try to put yourself in the perspective of where somebody else was coming on different policy matters, and that is greatly appreciated. But I also want to give you some words of my experience of living overseas. Embrace it. Take the opportunity. You and your family are about to go off onto an adventure that is not always smooth, but the opportunities for growth and appreciating different cultures and different ways of life and different ways of thinking will forever change not only you and your husband, but your children. And that is just so exciting. You are going to fall in love with rice toffles. And you will fall in love with all sorts of specialties of Indonesia, and you'll also get a touch of the Dutch people that I love so much. So I am not going to say goodbye. I will say tot ziens, and see you soon.
Ms. Palchik?
Well, Ms. Corbett Sanders stole my words about living in a different culture. It's one of the greatest experiences. But I will keep it light. I will miss sharing snacks with you. Even recently, people thought I was stepping down because people get us mixed up all the time. I am not leaving the board. I'm not Ms. Huff. So hopefully I won't have to deal with that anymore. And I really, truly have enjoyed our friendship, even though we often come at issues from very different perspectives. I appreciate from our very first trip down to Richmond, the stories we've shared and our connection as fellow Mantua graduates. Go Rockies, Rocky Raccoon. We will miss you, but don't think about us too much. Have a great time. Take care of your family, and we look forward to hearing about your great adventures. Thank you.
Mr. Wilson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Jeanette and Dahlia and Karen and I were part of the class of January 2016 joining the board, and so there's an actual emotional connection as we had to learn the ropes of what it meant to be a board member, Fairfax County Public Schools, and it's very eye-opening when you start to receive huge packets of information you're supposed to absorb, and you're suddenly trying to understand sort of in detail the incredible organization which is Fairfax County Public Schools. And each parent, and I'm a parent of 4 kids that have been in Fairfax County schools, you get the microcosm at the school level, but when you come on the board, that really gets exploded, and you see sort of how great of a system that we have put together here. So you're both a colleague and a friend, having gone through that experience with me and learning those ropes. And I would just echo a little bit of what Elizabeth says. You really modeled an incredible amount of hard work while balancing a huge commitment at home with your children. And for me, that translates to service, both with sacrifice. And as a former serviceman, I know that sacrifice is really part of public service, because you give up things that other people don't have to give up. And you were giving up time with your kids and being home, and you sacrificed with humility. So thank you very much.
Jeanette, I too want to thank you for your service on the board. I was impressed immediately when you came on the board with just how thorough you were, and as Mr. Wilson said, there is a lot. And you were always very thoughtful, very analytical, and I agree, the ability that you had to juggle your many roles. You had, the school board role, your other job. You did have another job as well as your kids and family, and being an at-large member, I know has its unique challenges with being in all corners of Fairfax County. So I'm sure that your car got a lot of work out as well, just in your time on the board. So I want to say I particularly admired your ability when you came on the board and throughout your service with us, that you always made those calls. You made the calls, and you made the second call, and you made the third call when you were working on an issue, which is the kind of work that is, it's tedious, it's hard, people don't see it, but it's the kind of thing that makes all the difference in terms of understanding your point of view and your colleagues' point of view. So I appreciate that very, very much, that you were able to do that. So it's been a pleasure getting to know you as a person and as a colleague. We will all miss you, but this is such a thrilling adventure you're going on. So I know we are just thrilled for you and your family, and we hope to get a postcard or a text or something from you to hear how it's going. So so all the best of luck to you, and we do all wish you the best. And with that, I'm going to take a vote on the resolution honoring Jeanette Huff. All those in favor? And that is unanimous. Ms. Huff, would you come up and have a photo with the board? Would you like to say something to us? Absolutely. Go ahead. By all means.
Thank you. I would like to say something. And I will preface my remarks to my colleagues with informing them that not to worry, I brought my own chips and food to sustain me through this meeting. And I really could say something about every one of you, but to Ms. Hines' point, I will stay efficient. So thank you for taking this time to honor my service on this board. As I stated in my resignation, it has been my joy to serve this county on the school board. Many have asked me how I enjoy the work of the school board. My honest answer is it has been character building and stretched me to learn more, ask better questions, and work to understand all aspects of an issue. Together with my colleagues, we have selected an excellent new superintendent, a highly qualified new auditor general, and have worked to focus the dollars to pay teachers a more competitive salary. And I'm proud of the work that we have done together. I'm grateful to Dr. Lockard and his staff for working so hard, being responsive, and being willing to ask, how can we do better? I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the school board office and my EAA, Kathy, who is always ready with an organized binder, answered my calls after hours, and helped keep me stay on top of the demands of a school board member. Most importantly, I want to thank the constituents of Fairfax County who took the time to communicate with me, continue being engaged, and demanding the best of our school system as we all benefit from that advocacy. Finally, thank you for the many well wishes I have received and the many who have graciously accepted and understood my need to step down in order to prepare my family and husband to serve overseas. We will miss this county, our schools, our community, our teachers, and all the employees of FCPS who work so hard every day. I wish the best of luck to my colleagues in continuing the work in the best interest of our students. Thank you for your continued service.
We go now to item 2.08, recognition of the 2017 Distinguished SRO Award recipient. And before I call for the motion, I did want to recognize Fairfax County Police Chief Rossler is with us tonight. Would you stand up? Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. And I am going to call on Mr. McElveen for a motion.
My understanding is this is a recognition, so there is no motion.
I beg your pardon. I'm going to call on you for a recognition.
So tonight I'm honored to read the recognition of the 2017 Distinguished SRO Award recipient. Fairfax County Public Schools and Fairfax County and Fairfax City Police Departments have established a mutually beneficial relationship for more than a decade. One of the hallmarks of this relationship has been the School Resource Officer, or SRO, program. SROs help ensure a safe and peaceful learning environment for students and provide school administrators and staff with the law enforcement resources and expertise necessary to maintain order, prevent truancy, and enforce the rules and codes of student conduct. A committee was created to establish and select the Distinguished School Resource Officer Award to annually recognize the efforts of outstanding SROs. The 2017 selection committee members were Tom Vaccarello, Director, Office of Safety and Security, Jim McLean, Safety Coordinator, Office of Safety and Security, Dr. Francis Ivey, Region 5 Assistant Superintendent, and Lieutenant Andy Werlin, School Liaison Commander. 5 other school resource officers were nominated by their principals. These nominees are stellar examples of the outstanding officers working in our schools. They should be very proud of their nomination. Please stand when your name is called. The nominees were Police Officer First Class Nicole Kristulovich and Police Officer First Class Gus Cabrera, Lake Braddock Secondary School. Next, we have Police Officer First Class Chris Barr, Robert E. Lee High School. Chris, Police Officer First Class Brett Manth, James Madison High School. Police Officer First Class Virgil Swartz, Stone Middle School. And the 2017 Distinguished School Resource Officer is Police Officer First Class Brad Warble from Centerville High School. Officer Roble entered Centerville High School staff in 2015 after several years at Liberty Middle School, the feeder middle school for Centerville High School. He has become a familiar face and is a trusted presence to students and families in the Centerville Pyramid. Officer Roble carries out his duties with a commitment and dedication to creating and maintaining a safe environment for students while building unparalleled community relationships. Officer Roble participates in daily activities at Centerville High School that not only make him a very visible presence, but he also contributes to student learning. Officer Roble takes an active role as a mentor for our students involved in the Police Explorers program. One of the active explorers, Chris Kim, says, Officer Roble is one of the most honest, fair, and hardest working people in the building. In the past couple of years, Officer Roble has acted as a mentor to me. He has always encouraged me to do well and strive to be the best I can be, which led me to be elected as the captain of the Police Exploring program in Fairfax County. He has inspired me to pursue a career in law enforcement after I graduate. Officer Roble constantly participates in off-site training and professional development activities that improve safety for all schools. Officer Roble was recently recognized for his contributions as a member of the Digital Imaging for Safe Schools Roundtable. Officer Roble remains an asset to the school administration. Through his innovative, professional, and unfailing commitment to his responsibilities as an SRO, he has made our school and community a safer place. Thank you for your service to FCPS, Officer Brad Roble. At this time, I would like to invite you, along with the nominees, their families, and friends, to join me and my colleagues at the dais for a picture with the board.
We now go to item 2.09, resolution honoring 2017 Laura Ashley Piper Scholarship Award recipient. And I want to first of all, before I go to the resolution, I wanted to thank Steve Senstack of the Apple Federal Credit Union Education Foundation, program director there. Would you please stand and be recognized if you're here in the audience tonight? Are you here with us tonight? Mr. Senstack? Perhaps he's not here tonight, but we do want to very much thank Apple Federal Credit Union and the Education Foundation for supporting this scholarship. We very much appreciate their continuing collaboration with us and generous support. And with that, I want to call on Mrs. Schultz for the resolution.
Sure, I would like to invite the 2017 Laura Ashley Piper Scholarship recipient, Kieran Thomas, to step to the podium. Laura Ashley Piper served as a student representative to the Fairfax County School Board from 1986 to 1987. This outstanding student, talented athlete, and exceptional leader graduated from Robinson Secondary School and the Air Force Academy and was commissioned a second lieutenant in the Air Force. She was killed in action over northern Iraq in April of 1994. To honor Laura Ashley Piper's strong commitment to student participation and to recognize her high standards of achievement and involvement and her willingness to continually accept responsibility throughout her lifetime, the School Board of Fairfax County has established an annual $1,000 Laura Ashley Piper Scholarship. In 2007, Apple Federal Credit Union Education Foundation began its endowment of the Laura Ashley Piper Scholarship, providing the $1,000 annually. We appreciate their generosity. Each year, every high school may nominate one senior student who exemplifies the attributes of personal excellence and commitment to student government of Lieutenant Piper. A committee from the Office of School Counseling Services, Department of Instructional Services considers the nominees. There's an engraved plaque in the school board office with each winner's name. The school board recognizes you as a student from Robinson Secondary School and recipient of the 2017 Laura Ashley Piper Scholarship. This is your resolution. Whereas Kieran Thomas has remained consistently committed to excellence in academics, athletics, student leadership, and responsibilities throughout his years at Robinson Secondary, and whereas he has maintained a 4.452 grade point average while taking challenging honors and international baccalaureate courses and actively participating in various clubs, including the National Honor Society, the National English Honor Society, the Math Honor Society, and has earned multiple awards for the Future Business Leaders of America activities, received first place in biochemistry at the 2014 Fairfax County Regional Science and Engineering Fair for his project, The Effect of Food Bars and a Planarian Movement, and has earned both his academic excellence and honor roll awards at Robinson. And whereas he is a leader both in his school community, where he was a student reporter for Fairfax County Student Rights and Responsibilities, Meet the Author, and the Innovation Workshop, and has served as a representative on the Superintendent's Student Advisory Council, the School Board Student Leadership Development Program, the Superintendent Student Advisory Council, the Fairfax County Career and Technical Education Advisory Board, and the Fairfax County Youth Leadership Program, an ambassador to the Hugh O'Brien Leadership State Seminar, an education program assistant for the Stephen F. Udvar-Hazy Center, Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum, and co-founder for Building Leaders Out of Membership, Bloom, and developed an aftermath food donation smartphone application to connect local families to leftover foods from the DC area restaurants at the 2016 Junior Achievement Entrepreneurship Summit. And whereas During his time at Robinson, he has participated on the junior varsity crew and golf teams, where he earned first place at the 2014 Arlington Cup Regatta and third place at the 2014 annual Boosters Golf Tournament. And for 3 years, he performed a South Indian classical dance at the Shirsti School of Dance called, I'm not even going to try. It's about that long, and it's a lot of consonants. I should have asked. My fault. Your exceptional leadership would have done that. Exceptional leadership qualities, strong communication skills, commitment to duty, and his passion and enthusiasm to help others demonstrates a maturity way beyond his years. And in every way, he personifies the characteristics and the ideals to which Laura Ashley Piper adhered. And now, therefore, let it be resolved that the Fairfax County School Board awards the Laura Ashley Piper Scholarship to Kieran Thomas in memory of Lieutenant Piper and in recognition of both of their drive, determination, and dedication to excellence. I so move.
Is there a second? Seconded by Mrs. Corbett Sanders. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that is unanimous. Congratulations. And at this time, would you come and have a photo? You and your family and friends are welcome to come join us in the dais.
Just want to say thank you. He was my student appointee to our leadership cohort and probably one of the best I've ever had, and now you see why.
Congratulations. And I now call on Ms. Schultz for recognition of 2017, it's 2017, School Board Character Award recipient.
So I'm pleased to have a second student to call to the podium. I would like to invite the 2017 School Board Character Award recipient, Rosa Albarzny, to step to the podium, please. Rosa? The School Board Character Award was initiated by a former student representative to the school board, Chris Giavarelli, and established by the Student Advisory Council in 2001. The Apple Federal Credit Union and its foundation have generously funded this award. The award is given to a junior or senior who demonstrates a continuous record of high morals, strong integrity, and good character, and who is recognized as a role model for students in Fairfax County Public Schools in day-to-day behavior. The recipient of the 2017 School Board Character Award is Rosa Albarzinci, a junior at Mountain View High School. Rosa embodies all of the traits showcased by this award and demonstrates them daily through her words and her actions. She is a positive role model for her peers and a powerful example to the ESOL population within the Mountain View High School community. Rosa arrived at Mountain View High School as a refugee from Kurdistan with a level 2 ESOL. Although her English was limited, she quickly found her voice in photography by becoming a student journalist in government class and a photographer for the school's newspaper. As Rosa's skills in English progressed, she published several stories describing her personal journey as a Kurdish American, the plight of the Syrian people, the refugees in our communities, and the value of mentoring in a school community. She also created a documentary on an American Thanksgiving tradition after she interviewed 3 generations of a family. In addition to her work as the school photographer and for the school newspaper, Rosa works as a special occasion photographer and volunteers at a local food bank. Rosa's determination and exceptional work ethic are an inspiration to the whole FCPS community. According to one of her teachers, she said, "As a teacher, I'm excited about the learning we're doing together and the message that this outstanding student and young global citizen brings to all of us. She is resilient, curious, and a dependable advocate for the truth that many seek to hide. Her high morals, her strong integrity, her resilience epitomize the character traits we want to see in all of our students. Rosa has earned and truly deserves the School Board Character Award. At this time, I would like to invite Rosa and her family and friends to join me at the dais for a picture with the board. Congratulations.
The next order of business is citizen participation. Tonight, 10 citizens have signed up to address the board, and we also have one video testimony. Speakers are requested to limit their remarks to not more than 3 minutes. The school board will not hear statements involving issues that have been scheduled for public hearings, such as capital improvement program, budget, and boundaries. Complaints regarding individual students or school-based employees should be directed to the appropriate school principal or other school official. Speakers should refrain from using personally identifiable information in connection with an individual student. Speakers are expected to deliver their comments with the decorum and respect appropriate to the conduct of the public's business. Please be mindful that there are often young children in attendance at these meetings or watching at home, so language should be appropriate for all age levels. Thank you for your cooperation, and thanks to those who have come out tonight to speak to us. And the first speaker tonight is Lily Barris.
My name's Lily Barris, but I'd like to give my time to Victoria Valentine, if that's okay.
Yes, you may.
Okay. Hello, my name is Victoria Valentine, and I am a founder and co-president of the Black Student Union at what is currently called Jeb Stuart High School. The Black Student Union calls upon the school board members to change the name of Jeb Stuart High School to something that better reflects the values and demographics of our school. As a student of color, it is fundamentally offensive and difficult for me to cheer for and honor a man who fought for the Confederacy. The values of the Confederacy are not our values today, and whether he was a great man or a great Virginian does not matter because what he stood for remains. He fought to keep an entire race of people enslaved, and his beliefs perpetuated white supremacy through the United States. In addition to who the school is named after, we must also think about the circumstances that put his name on our school. African Americans have been given challenge after challenge, from slavery to Jim Crow to the civil rights movement and even to the modern times today. The school was named as a part of institutionalized racism that this country has had such a difficult time overcoming throughout history. My school's name is one of the many representations in society that shows students of color that this institutionalized racism remains in parts of our everyday lives. Walking down our halls, we see this reminder on a day-to-day basis. This is not a matter that can be put off. This change is important and needs to happen right away. Money is always an excuse to not do the right thing. It was the South's economic argument not to end slavery. It was the argument not to end segregation. It was an argument not to implement the ADA, and an argument not to accommodate those with special needs in our public schools. Sometimes doing the right thing requires an investment, and it is an investment to better our communities, and one that we will not regret. Finally, please understand that as a county, we pride ourselves on being one of the most progressive in the nation. People as a whole are watching us and what we do here. Throughout the country, decisions made in New Orleans, Charlottesville, and other places have received much media attention. All eyes are on us now. Do we really want to be known as the county who voted to keep a racist school name? This is not about Jeb Stuart the man or the school board of 1958. This is about you right now. Is this what you really believe in? Are the values of the Confederacy really what you believe in? Because if you vote to keep this name, that is effectively what you're saying, and what history will remember you as. You are the ones saying that the opinions of students of color do not matter, and that them being uncomfortable cheering for this man and walking through this school does not matter. The school board must stand up against this institutionalized racism.
I don't want to interrupt you, if you would just wrap up in a sentence.
This is the last sentence.
Thank you so much.
Must stand up against institutionalized racism and stand up in support of all students by supporting this name change. Thank you.
The next speaker is Kayla Longmire. Is Kayla Longmire here? Kayla Longmire? The next speaker then is Deborah Oh, I see.
Hello, my name is Kayla Longmire, a freshman at Jeb Stuart High School. Here. I will now read Section 3, Article 3 of the United States Constitution. Treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them, or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of 2 witnesses to the same overt act, or on confession in open court. The Congress shall have power to declare the punishment of treason, but no attainder of treason shall work corruption of blood or forfeiture except during the life of the person attainted. I will now also read from the United States Code of Laws, Title 18, Part 1, Chapter 115, Section 2381. Whoever, owing allegiance to the United States, levies war against them or adheres to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort within the United States or elsewhere, is guilty of treason and shall suffer death, or shall be imprisoned not less than 5 years and fined under this title, but not less than $10,000, and shall be incapable of holding any office under the United States. In conclusion, according to constitutional law, Jeb Stuart committed treason when he chose to join the Confederacy to preserve the enslavement of an entire race in the American South. He was by no means a patriot. Change the name.
Deborah Ratliff. Deborah Ratliff? Is Deborah Ratliff here tonight? She is. Oh.
Hi, everyone. Whoops. Okay. I'm Debbie Ratliff. I'm the parent of 2 Jeb Stuart High School students, an active volunteer, and I work full-time in the Office of Advancement at the College of William & Mary. I work remotely. I'm a 20-year resident of Fairfax County. A public-private partnership can fund costs of the name change for Jeb Stuart High School and will prevent added burdens on the school's booster clubs, PTSA, and school administration. It also offers potential to build new, long-term relationships and partnerships with groups to support the school. Before I begin my testimony, however, it's important to note that, as an opponent of the name change said on NPR, it's not about the money. She's right. The reasons to change the name of Jeb Stuart High School are compelling. It's about justice, equality, human rights, and reconciliation. The fact is, we've already made the decision. We've been removing connections to the Confederacy from our school for more than 20 years. The Confederate flag is no longer on gym floors, murals, athletic uniforms, signs, letter jackets, spiritware, yearbooks, and more. The name has been truncated to Stuart High School. It's time to remove the name completely, the school's final and sole connection to the Confederacy. I'm on the ad hoc committee to consider renaming Jeb Stuart High School, and I chose to work on Subcommittee 3-4. We worked together for nearly 5 months. Our subcommittee submitted 2 reports which share common facts with often striking differences in tone, perspective, and level of optimism. Both reports recommend that a volunteer fundraising committee, including a prominent alumnus, Bruce Cohen, and other alumni and community members, launch a fundraising campaign, and that the FCPS Foundation partners with them to receive and hold tax-deductible donations in a restricted fund on behalf of the name change effort. Additionally, the 30,000 supporters who signed an online petition can also be tapped in an online crowdsourcing fundraising campaign. Per industry best practices and consistent with my own experience working with the College of William & Mary, fundraising campaigns end when a goal is met. And a goal and timeline are always presented to the target donor constituency in order to create a sense of urgency and excitement around the campaign. The school board will decide the timeline and the goal for this campaign. The school board can vote June 22nd to change the name of the high school to take effect whenever they decide is appropriate. And the school board can calculate costs, the fundraising goal, based on the replacement schedule and funding model they choose. FCPS estimates that the cost to change the name is $678,000. Our subcommittee found that the vast majority of these costs are items that are on regular replacement schedules and already budgeted for. For example, the logos on the turf field and gym floors are 18% of the total cost. If we fix them per their existing replacement schedules, we will reduce the cost by $120,000. Additionally, a significant percentage of the cost is listed as miscellaneous to address unforeseen repairs or other needs that may be discovered as changes are implemented. These are related costs but are not required to change the name. Bottom line, one more sentence, once the school board votes to make the name change a priority, to inspire our students for the greater good, to reflect our values, we will make this happen. Steps to do so through a public-private partnership, also detailed in my written testimony, are already mobilizing into action. It is time to remove the school's final connection to the Confederacy and change the name. Thank you.
Julie Strandley.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to present my views in support of changing the name of Jeb Stuart High School. My husband and I are the proud parents of 2 current Fairfax County students. We spent 3 years in the Stuart Pyramid as our daughter attended Glasgow Middle School. While at Glasgow, I served as a parent volunteer for the We the People, the Citizen, and the Constitution team. And I'm very proud that several of our team alumni have been involved as Stuart High School students in the Change the Name discussion. I currently serve as the president of Holmes Middle School PTA on the Fairfax County Planning Commission and in several other community service roles. Earlier this year, I was here to testify in support of full funding for programs that are critical to all Mason District schools, including Stuart High School. 2 years ago, in June 2015, I wrote our Mason District Supervisor, Board Representative Sandy Evans, to express my strong support for changing the name of Jeb Stuart High School. The fact that a public school, especially Justice Thurgood Marshall's neighborhood high school, was named after a Confederate general who fought to preserve slavery had long bothered me. As a lawyer, Georgetown grad, who has also fought for equality and justice for all, and just as being a human being. The Charleston massacre of innocent African Americans during a worship service by a white supremacist who was inspired by Confederate symbols was a national wake-up call. While this has been a controversial issue, even in generating a renewed debate about what the Civil War was really about, the bottom line justification and demand for changing the name is quite straightforward. Jeb Stuart renounced his U.S. citizenship and his military commission and took up arms against the United States of America. He was a traitor. I urge you to make your decision to remove the name from the place of honor on our Fairfax County High School based on this undisputed fact. Today, we must listen to Stuart students who have raised their voice to say, we're not raiders, and who have expressed discomfort with attending a school named after someone who fought to keep their people enslaved. Judge Martin Clark, who personally removed the portrait of General Jeb Stuart from his Stuart, Virginia courtroom, makes relevant points for your decision. The need for a fair, neutral school setting is quite analogous to the trial setting. Judge Clark writes, this will no doubt anger, perplex, and disappoint many residents of our county, and perhaps even the majority of the people who live here. It will be an unpopular decision in many quarters, especially given that the courthouse is located in a town named in Stuart's honor. Still, it is my goal and my duty as a judge to provide a trial setting that is perceived by all participants as fair, neutral, and without so much as a hint of prejudice. Confederate symbols are, simply put, offensive to African Americans, and this reaction is based on fair and clear, straightforward history. Bigotry saturates the Confederacy's founding principles, its racial aspirations, and its public pronouncements. I urge you to vote yes on the motion to change the name of Jeb Stuart High School. Thank you for your consideration.
David Hardison.
I'll be sharing my time with my friend Michael Knight. My name's Dave Hardison. I grew up in Falls Church, graduated from Stuart, have 3 kids who attended FCPS, now live in Drainsville. I have family that lives a stone's throw away from Belvedere Elementary in Mason. Many Stuart alumni share my view that the school's name should be changed. Jeb Stuart fought to preserve the Confederacy, whose core mission was to preserve slavery and enshrine white supremacy. But for this, his name would no longer be remembered. The name was not appropriate for a school in 1958, and it is not appropriate today. I urge the board to honor its commitment, as you pledge this April, to a safe, inclusive, and welcoming environment for all students. The name Jeb Stuart undermines that pledge every day. Please remember, there's never a wrong time to do the right thing. If you follow that principle, many alumni will be right there supporting you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Michael Knight. I'm parent of a 8th grader at Glasgow going into just Stewart, and an 11th grader who plays varsity lacrosse at Stewart currently. I've been on the ad hoc committee. What you've heard tonight about the position of Stewart himself as a general being honored on this school is very important. One of the other arguments that we've heard on the ad hoc committee besides the cost is this slippery slope argument. But other schools in this county are named for people who, yes, unfortunately owned slaves. It's part of our history. But they were known for other things, and they did not commit treason against the United States of America. So yes, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, they owned slaves, but they were known for more things, like being presidents of the United States, of being founding fathers of the country. Jeb Stuart is known for one thing and one thing only. Two things, actually. An Indian massacrist as a cavalry officer in the 1850s, and for 3 years until his death as a proud citizen of the Confederacy who committed treason and was directly responsible for the deaths of thousands of Americans. I find it a bit ironic that tonight we start off with the pledge and we give out an award in honor of a veteran who died for her country, yet we still have this name plastered across this school. It's time to include us in this community. We're an African-American family, my daughter. It's time to make her feel welcome at that school. It's time to rebrand the school. It's time to rebrand the county school system. Anybody who's a student of the school system knows in recent years, courtesy of the Washington Post, we've had some bad press. We have an opportunity here to rebrand, 13 seconds, to rebrand the school and the county's image. I urge you to change this name as soon as possible. Thank you so much.
Laurel Guy.
Hello, I'm Laurel Guy. I'm also a Stewart alumni and very proud of the name of Jeb Stuart because unfortunately many people are not aware of the facts. And if you go to Jeb Stuart, we have a site here for you, so it's stewartfacts.com. I'd like to give the rest of my time, please, to Mr. Erickson. You speak on behalf of the school.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is George Erickson. Since July 4th, 1976, I've been a resident of Mason District in the Jeb Stuart Pyramid. My daughter graduated from Jeb Stuart, where she was a cheerleader. My son went to Thomas Jefferson School of Science and Technology. My daughter today is a pediatric emergency medicine physician and an associate professor of medicine. My son is a lawyer with an MBA and is working as a managing director in a New York investment bank. Without the very fine education foundation provided by the Fairfax County Public School System, my children would not be enjoying their present careers. So I am therefore very thankful to the Fairfax Public School System. However, tonight I appear not just to thank the Fairfax County Public School System, but also to demand that the Fairfax County School Board take corrective actions to remediate a serious ongoing wrong, namely a government process being conducted improperly. As government officials of Fairfax County, every member of the Fairfax School Board owes a duty to all residents, and I repeat, all residents of Fairfax County to conduct board business by a fair, impartial, and transparent process. From very inception to this date, the handling of the Jeb Stuart name change process as established by the board and conducted by the board has not met the fairness, transparency, not met the impartiality standards, and not met the transparency standards required of proper government process in the conduct of public business. The unfairness, bias, and covert conduct complained of. I've got a couple more minutes, I'll stop, but...
If you could just wrap up in a sentence or two.
Okay, I will wrap it up very shortly. A petition process is starting tonight that will request that you, as chairman, and that Ms. Hines, as a member of the board, voluntarily recuse yourself from further participation in and voting on this matter. I can wrap it up. I had a bit more, but
Thank you. Next speaker is Deborah Danker. Deborah Danker? Oh.
I'm sorry, I ceded my time, so I will now cede my time.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Sean Perryman. I'm an attorney, a citizen of Fairfax, and the father of an extraordinary little girl. I support changing the name of Jeb Stuart High School. Fairfax schools cannot embrace Confederate soldiers like Jeb Stuart without also embracing the core value of the Confederacy, white supremacy. When we continue to keep symbols, we must ask, what are our values? The monuments, symbols, and the names of our public places represent the values of our community. There's a disconnect between the professed values of this community and certain figures and institutions we honor. I'm not here to debate the long historical record, but I must refute the absurd notion that the Confederacy was about something other than slavery and white supremacy. Alexander Stephens, the Vice President of the Confederacy, in what would become known as his cornerstone speech, would explain the difference between the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Confederacy. Stephens said the fundamental idea of the U.S. Constitution and everything that flowed from it was the idea that every man was created equal. According to Stephens, the Confederacy, and I quote, is founded upon exactly the opposite ideas. Its foundations are laid, its cornerstone rests upon the great truth that the Negro is not equal to the white man, that slavery, subordination to the superior race, is his natural truth and normal condition, end quote. The great idea at the foundation of the Confederacy is that the Negro is not equal to the white man. This is the Confederate legacy. Those who argue that white supremacy does not lie at the heart of the Confederate values would ask you to disregard the words of one of the leaders of that government. That's impossible. You see, Confederates embraced the truth of their prejudice. They fought and died for the ideal of white supremacy and made no secret of it. Today, rather than face that ugly historical truth, we sanitize and rationalize racism. The facts don't make us comfortable because if the Confederacy stood for white supremacy, then we would have to acknowledge that every day we send students to a school named after a traitor who fought and died for white supremacy. That's an ugly truth. Bryan Stephens, the founder of the Equal Justice Initiative, said the true evil of American slavery was not forced labor, but the narrative of white supremacy that was created to justify it. Long after the end of slavery, it was that idea that allowed the denial of voting rights, the redlining of homes, and the separation of schools. And it is the champions of that idea that we hail and celebrate throughout Virginia. As I said before, I did not come to debate history. I came to ask a simple question. What are our values today? What value should I tell my daughter this community holds? In April of this year, this board voted to formally support and endorse a statement of diversity and inclusion. One of the beliefs of this school board listed alongside its mission statement is that everyone thrives in vibrant, healthful, safe, enriching, and respectful environment. There's nothing respectful about honoring Jeb Stuart. I ask that we face this ugly truth. I ask that the board take action that matches the values that the board professes to have. Show us your values. Vote to change the name. Thank you.
The next speaker is Kofi Annan.
All right. Good evening. I'm Kofi Nan, president of the Fairfax County NAACP, and I'm also a father of two boys in Fairfax County Public Schools. Chairman Evans, Dr. Lockhart, and the board, members of the board, Jeb Stuart was not a hero. Heroes fight for what is just and defend the weakest among us. He instead fought and died for the ideals to uphold the institution of slavery and white supremacy. The time has come to take a stand by voting to change the name Jeb Stuart from what is currently serves as a celebration of slavery to one that all of our citizens can be proud of. Despite the campaign's opponents, what they would have you believe, this is not a decision about dollars and cents. This is a watershed moment that could demonstrate the county's moral compass is pointing in the right direction of inclusivity of our educational institutions. History will judge you as either the brave souls that stood for racial healing and made our school system, a more welcoming environment for all, or as those that hid behind unscientific polls and phony figures because you lacked the fortitude to do what you know was right. For those of you who believe that racism is not at the core of this fight, or that I am being dramatic to prove a point, just look to the people of Charlottesville who have just witnessed a Ku Klux Klan rally a few weeks ago and will witness another one in a couple of weeks at the base of Robert Lee Lee's statue. A vote to keep the name and let there be no mistake. A vote to keep the name would be sending the signal that you support these terrorists. This is not about preserving our history, as our opponents would have you believe. This is about whitewashing our history, disregarding the cries for inclusion of the Black and minority population, and honoring the white supremacy. The Fairfax County NAACP is stronger now than it's ever been. And we will continue to closely monitor your decisions on this issue. We will be keeping our members informed and encouraging them to elect officials who support the values that the county professes to believe. It's time to lead, not cower behind or hide behind dishonest numbers when you know what's right. It's time to set the right example for our children. It's time to continue the process of racial healing in our community. Some will argue that the symbolic gestures won't produce tangible results, but I speak from a personal experience as someone who has changed my own name to unshackle myself from my painful past. Symbolic changes produce real, powerful, and lasting impacts on individuals and our community. You have the opportunity to do the same. Do what you know is right and the beneficial to our community. The precedent that this decision would make would be a very positive one for the county. We will be known as a county that didn't just talk the talk, but decided to actually implement measures to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Kate Walter.
Hi, I'm going to yield my time to Vincent Tuno and Christian Barbaso.
All right.
Hi, my name is Vince Natuno. I'm a member of the SC2 of the Ad Hoc Committee. Both my daughter and I are alumni of Jeb Stuart High School. I'm a founding member of the Jeb Stuart High School Alumni Association and engage daily with easily 2,000 alumni on highly active Jeb Stuart High School alumni pages. 90 to 95% of the feedback I have received does not support a name change. Before the beginning of the ad hoc process, you, Ms. Evans, along with the NAACP representatives George Alber and another NAACP member, Pat Hines, colluded to change the regulation by which the school board can change the school's name. You failed to define the key terms in the proposal, such as compelling need or community. You stacked the ad hoc working group with people who live outside the Stuart pyramid. But where is the support for this change? No parent group at Jeb Stuart supports the name change. The athletic boosters have notified Sandy Evans of their intent to disband if a name goes through, while the PTSA postponed its last meeting of the academic year in order to respond to a name change if one occurs. No local businesses have come forward to support the name change. Invited community associations have declined and in some cases voted to decline to send representatives to the ad hoc group. Where are the Hispanic and Muslim communities? Why are they not represented on the ad hoc group? If there's so much support from within our community, why did you bring outsiders of whom favored the name change at the expense of local community members who applied and were rejected? Currently, there is an at-large vacancy on the board. The role of the at-large member is to represent the county-wide perspective against parochial interests of magisterial members. The upcoming special election offers opportunity for truly measurable community engagement on the name change. If you hold this vote while there is a vacancy at the at-large seat, you are distorting representation beyond the already manipulative practices of current board members. Principles of representative democracy demand a cancellation of the vote on June 22nd.
School board members with little or no historical understanding of the Munson Hill area have quickly bought into a narrow and false assertion that Jeb Stuart High School is named for racist motives. They have failed to substantiate this argument at all. They did not join the educational opportunity to learn about the Munson Hill historic area by participating in the historic bus tour. Within the next week, we'll be approaching each one of you individually to support our proposal for the Jeb Stuart and Munson Hill historic districts in hopes that you become interested in the historic truths of the area. To those of you in this room and those watching online, your community is not safe. They're coming for your school next. Robert E. Lee High School, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, Woodson, Chantilly, Langley, and so on.
Excuse me, the audience really needs to give the speaker their respectful attention.
Thank you. Remember, all it takes is one magisterial member, one at-large member, and 5 kids to initiate a name change for a school against the wishes of the community. Mr. McElvin has already signaled his willingness to engage the future actions as indicated by his commencement address at Robert E. Lee High School last year. And the NAACP, with its newly formed student activist group, will be right there at the tip of the spear in the guise of facilitation. At nearly $1 million per school, Fairfax County taxpayers will pay for this cascading effect instead of meeting the greater needs for the educational resources. Madison and Patty Hines District, Lee and Colfax's district, Chantilly and Wilson's, Mount Vernon and Karen Sanders,
Could you
TJ.
wrap up, please?
Sorry?
Could you wrap up, please?
I'm sure you're all aware of the names in your schools, or names of your districts that have historical value that might be wanted to take it away. I'm here to tell you that Jeb Stuart High School in your very own district is just the beginning. Stuart is the multi-million-dollar domino. Do not let it fall. Thank you.
So I believe I skipped over Daniel Villegas. Daniel, you here? I beg your pardon. You were earlier on the list, but please come forward. Thank you.
Okay, so hi, my name is Daniel Villegas. I recently presented to you guys a few weeks ago, so it's nice to see you guys again. I am the student body president at Jeb Stuart High School, and I also served on subcommittee 2 for the ad hoc name changing committee. My experiences there were I came in the process trying to be neutral for both sides, to see both sides of the argument, but at the end, I think that after seeing both sides, my determination came that a name change was what's necessary for the school. They actually took a lot of my points that I was going to mention here today, and about the racist principles behind the name. And I've had a lot of students come up to me recently, concerning the name change, and I really think that the students there, people are saying that the students haven't been expressing their interest in this. They really have. I've personally felt it. I am Hispanic, so there is a Hispanic community that's also really engaged in this. So there were a lot of efforts that we had that we wanted to, if we had more time, we would have gotten more things done and presented to you guys, but in all reality, I think that a name change is what's necessary for the school. I'm not speaking on behalf of maybe everyone in the community, because I know not 100% of the community agrees with this, but I know that what we learned in our topics class about the civil rights protests and all these other things, the school board, they had to take an action in the beginning before anything got done, because nothing was done until someone did it, and we really need to do something, because we can't just sit here and let Jeb Stuart be named Jeb Stuart, knowing the history behind it. He was a racist guy who gave up his American citizens and American citizenship, and we name schools after Americans that we try to emulate. We don't name people who went against their country and gave up their citizenship to fight against their own country. We need to be naming a school after people that we look up to, and not some guy named Jeb Stuart. People say that this is gonna cause a domino effect between all the other schools, and it really isn't. It really isn't. Jeb Stuart High School we've taken away so many things from the Confederacy, and it's time now to just change that and just take off the name and just change it. That's my recommendation for the school board, and I think that's the recommendation that the majority of the people here have today. And I'm just here to conclude. So thank you guys for listening to all of our rants. But I know that on that vote on June 22nd, I really do urge you to vote yes for the name change, just because I know that your names are going to go down in history for being the people that actually made history and did something right. Thank you.
We're now going to show our one video tonight from Mr. Bilodeau.
Good evening, School Board. This is a quick tour of a report found on Jeb Stuart Facts. It's from Subcommittee 2. It looks at what happened to Jeb Stuart before the name change, during the name change, and predicts what will happen after. In this report, we start with a national footprint about what's happening around the country with name change, and we look at the psychology and the predictions both before and after name change. Group isolation, loss of identity. We talk about Zimbardo, Phil Zimbardo. He specifically looks at students absorbing a past negative mindset and predicts that they would be more depressed, less friendly, and have higher tempers, amongst other issues. Nationally, we look at all the issues amongst other schools. There's hundreds of schools going through name change right now. Here's one, for instance, on the left, where there's been a death threat just a few weeks ago against students leading a name change. Something we needed to be aware of and should be on the lookout for, and something the committee did not cover, and it should have. We go through the messaging, what had happened. Some of the visceral messages, for instance, this one here, talking about how the students react to being called Hitler High School. And more specifically, though, we go down into what's happening at Jeb Stuart. And this is where we start identity formation. Just a couple years ago, you can see the yearbook, 32 very clear identity messages about Jeb Stuart in the name and graphic design, whereas a couple years later, there's only 3 background images of Jeb Stuart. And you can see that there's been a drop-off in group cohesiveness and identity. This is a look at Washington Lee High School, how they promote coping mechanisms and positive signaling through the way they handle General Lee around the school. More specifically here, you can start to see how behaviors have shifted before and after name change. Here, alcohol, tobacco, and drug offenses jumped 170%, about a 40-something% jump here in disorderly and disruptive behavior, and that was predicted. Fitness, looking at incoming 9th graders, walking into a name change situation, a loss of sleep. The cardio fitness scores are 16 points below county average, having dropped significantly before and after the name change campaign attack against the name. And then we get into the differences. Jeb Stuart had the county's lowest Virginia history scores, and after the name change, their scores went lower, while their world history scores went up. That tells us something about what's happening with the teaching of Virginia history. We did a sampling of the social science and history composites and see that parallel to Lee, that Jeb Stuart went down, whereas Lee went up. And specifically, though, the white students and black students, the year after name change split. The white students went up, the black students went down. And then, of course, absences were at Lee. You have a year-over-year decline in black students. We looked at them as a group which could be absorbing the messaging. And then you look at the differences here, before and then after, in absences and dropout rates. Thank you for taking a look. We encourage you to look at this report.
All right, and that concludes citizen participation. We now turn to, thank you all for coming out tonight. We turn to student representative matters, and I call on Ms. Chu.
Thank you. I'm going to keep my comments brief tonight, but I remember the first school board meeting I was at, actually, the issue that we discussed the most was renaming Jeb Stuart. So I find it very interesting that, again, at the second to last school board meeting of mine, this is the most prominent issue at hand. So I do want to just take a moment to thank those who do support the name change and those who do not support the name change for the work that was done truly over an entire school year. That was the first issue that I ever learned about, and I want to thank you guys for working so diligently for what you believe in. And I do hope that come this later in this meeting and on June 22nd, we can come to a divisive decision on it. I find it amazing that, at the first and near last meeting, it is the same issue, but I do see so many changes being made in the spirit of the discussion and with the body of people supporting both sides of the issue. And finally, in the spirit of congratulations and commemoration of different students and officials and servers and leaders in our community, I want to congratulate the many high school students who I know are graduating soon or who have already graduated, as well as students across the county who may have had their last day of school today. So congratulations on a wonderful school year and for all your achievements, and I wish everyone a safe and memorable summer.
Thank you, Ms. Chu. We now turn to action items, and I am going to turn the gavel over to Mrs. Strauss.
Yes, the next agenda item is 4.02, resolution directing Division Council to file a petition with the Circuit Court of Fairfax County for issuance of a writ of election to authorize a special election. I call on Ms. Evans to read the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Strauss. I will read the resolution. Whereas effective May 31st, 2017, a vacancy occurred on the school board due to the resignation of a member of the board. And whereas the school board is required by Virginia law to petition the Fairfax County Circuit Court within 15 days to issue a writ of election to fill the vacancy, and whereas the countywide special election to fill the existing vacancy may cost up to $250,000, and whereas the school board strongly prefers that a November special election be held to fill the vacancy in conjunction with the November general election in order to reduce election costs and increase voter turnout, and whereas Virginia law provides that the special election for this purpose shall be held, quote, not fewer than 45 days nor more than 90 days after the occurrence of the vacancy, close quote, and whereas the 90th day is August 29th, 2019, based on the rules of statutory construction set forth in the Code of Virginia, and whereas the school board has been informed that its preference for a November election is not allowed under Virginia law, which requires that there be a special election by August 29th. Now, therefore, I hereby move that the school board direct legal counsel to file a petition with the Circuit Court, excuse me, of Fairfax County for issuance of a writ of election to authorize a special election to be held on Tuesday, August 29th, 2017, for the purpose of filling the vacancy on the Fairfax County School Board. I so move.
Second. Second by Mr. Moon. Ms. Evans, would you like to speak to your motion?
I believe it's self-evident. We do have a vacancy on the board, and we do need to, by law, petition the Circuit Court to hold a special election. People do ask us occasionally, well, shouldn't you just hold the election in November when we already have an election scheduled? And while we would prefer that, by law, we wanted the public to know that the law requires us to do it within a certain time frame. So because of that, we are asking for the August 29th date. That is the latest date that we could hold the election. So that would give a little bit more time for the Board of Elections to organize itself, and we've been informed that they would like a little bit more time. So with that, we need to get to the Circuit Court within 15 days, and so this is necessary to do that.
Mr. Moon, would you like to speak to your second?
Thank you, Mrs. Strauss. Public announcement, public service announcement that in addition to the special election day requirement, we also will have a filing deadlines set by State Board of Elections, which will be according to statute, it has to be at least 60 days from the date of a special election, which means if the election is going to be held on August 29th, people who want to run need to file their a petition and declaration of a candidacy by, at the latest, June 30th. That does not give us a lot of time to public, but for those of you, who want to run for school board at large position, which is vacant right now, you will have once the judge signs a writ up for election, hopefully on this Friday, we'll have about less than 3 weeks to make a decision and file all the papers.
Ms. Schultz?
Yeah, I'm not going to be voting for this resolution, and it is not because we don't need to petition the court. We just heard earlier this evening resolutions honoring student achievement, student excellence, SRO excellence in their service, and the word model was used to compliment the very school board member that this resolution deems to seek to direct staff to go petition the court, except this is bad governance, it's bad transparency, it's bad efficiency, it's bad accountability. It's not about keeping the main thing, which we just heard a wonderful speech by our new superintendent. I already have compliments flowing in from the community about the speech that our new superintendent gave. This resolution has been developed specifically as a resolution to make a point. And any motion that this board does, any action this board does, is handled by this board through the process of governance. And self-governance and accountability, including to ourselves, is done through a motion. And I asked repeatedly over the last several days how consensus was arrived at on a resolution and what the point was of doing the board's business through a resolution. This is board work, and we do need to direct our attorneys under Virginia law to petition the court, that's the way it works, to initiate the special election. And that's all fine and dandy. Put the motion on the table directing staff to go and petition the court. And then you get a second, and then we can have whatever discussion. But by fronting it with a resolution, what we're doing is we're framing that there's a point to be made. If you don't like the law, if the law is inconvenient, if the way in which the Virginia legislature, our representatives in Richmond, have framed the law, then we can add it to our ever-increasing in size legislative agenda and make that a point. But you can't say that because we don't like the law and we don't like the outcome of this, that we're going to make a point by sticking a resolution in the middle of the board's business. And this to me is problematic and emblematic of some of the speakers that we heard earlier this evening, that they want us to be transparent in our work. They want us to be accountable in our work. They want us to be efficient in our work. And this isn't the way to go about it. And so while we have to petition the court, I fundamentally have an issue when we go around our own rules, when we go around our own business practices, when we go around our own precedents. That's where the board does its least best work. When we focus on the main thing being the main thing, and we drive towards a common goal of serving students, serving families, providing a great education, and then doing this administrative work in an administrative manner instead of a definitely not administrative manner, then I fundamentally have to throw a flag on the field. So I think it's unfortunate because actually a special election winds up getting us a school board member 3 months earlier. And how having a legal election in which people get to vote and we get a school board member faster is a bad thing, I don't understand. But I don't think this is our best work.
Ms. Hines?
Yeah, thank you. I agree with this resolution, and I will be supporting it. You know, it's interesting. I actually talked to Kate Hanley of the Electoral Board here in Fairfax County, who's been in Virginia a long time as a local and state leader, and she told me that actually Fairfax County chose this process years ago, I guess. Fairfax County decided we didn't want to do what many other jurisdictions in Virginia do, which some of them will appoint someone. They will, they kind of can choose a lot of different ways to do this. But
the culture in Fairfax County at the time that this was put together, and maybe it's still true, is that we don't want people appointed for long periods of time. That's anti-democratic. And so we have, we want to get elections done as quickly as possible. So that's why we're kind of stuck with this regulation the way it is. And so for once, I don't think it's the General Assembly dumping on us. I think we did this. But I will say there is a point to be made in this resolution. I'm glad we have the resolution, because the point is not to harangue anybody in Richmond because we have this tough rule that we have to live under. It's more to explain to Fairfax County taxpayers and voters that we're not choosing August 29 over the general election in November because it's what we prefer. I don't prefer it. Having an election on August 29th will cost the county another $250,000. An at-large county-wide race we've had that estimate of $250,000, and that's taxpayer dollars. And I think it's fair to say that we will have a lower turnout on August 29th than we will on November 8th. I think that's the general election date. It will be the second day of school. We'll have, parents who probably care more than anybody about this election will be dealing with the first week of school, and at least they'll be back. They won't be on vacation, which they would be the week before. They'll be back. But, think about it. I've been a parent in that first week of school. It's crazy. You're dealing with paperwork coming home from kids and from your schools. It's going to be very hard to get a good turnout on August 29th. But that's the best date that we can manage, given the rules as they are. So I like this statement because it does make a statement that this is not the best in this situation for this community, but it is what we have to live with. So I will be supporting the resolution. Ms. McLaughlin?
So one of the things that we struggle with as elected officials on the school board is that with local politics, not necessarily a lot of the members of the public understand the context of the work that we do. And so while I understand Ms. Schultz's concern that this resolution maybe looks like it's in a different format, one of the things I think is important about this resolution is it does very specifically lay out in what I think is probably the most transparent and informative manner possible of why is the board filing this petition with the court? What's their rationale? I have read far too many Washington Post and other local newspaper stories about how we at this board table make decisions, and they don't always get it accurate. And the value of this resolution is that if we believe in it and we vote in it, we're saying what's here is true, it's factual. If anyone in the public wants to better understand why are we having this unique and special election at the cost of taxpayer dollars, I outlined it very clearly why. And I again appreciate that Ms. Schultz looks at this motion and says we don't normally do it this way. I would like just a little bit of clarity perhaps from either Chairman Evans or our legal counsel, John Foster, in terms of was there another vehicle for being able to have all of this detailed information in it. But otherwise, if the resolution is the way we can package these very salient explanations for why we're voting on this tonight, then I think this was an important step for the board.
Ms. Corbett-Sanders?
Thank you, and I'm glad to have followed Mrs. McLaughlin. This is a very important resolution, I believe, to educate people. This is a board that is committed to transparency, inclusiveness, and for educating not only ourselves on processes, but educating students, parents, and the population. And I have received multiple questions as to why we are pushing for a special election. And so this resolution actually addresses that as to we are not pushing for a special election. This is our policy in Fairfax County, and it is a way of communicating to the voters of Fairfax County that these are important dates to know about. It is also important to understand that the date of August 29th is important not only for the 60 days in advance for filing petitions to run, but there are a number of polling station changes that are going to take place in July, and it's going to be hard but important to educate all of the people in our community that they may not be voting at the same location on August 29th as they have voted in the past. It's also important for this resolution to be out there so that people understand that on the second day of school, we will be having voters in our buildings. And so I know that parents often ask, hey, you should have given us advanced notice, and this is our way of giving advance notice. This was something that was discussed after we got feedback from the County Board of Elections as to what we needed to do. It's also feedback that we got as far as legal counsel on what the law requires us to do, which we received in a closed session on Tuesday night. And so this is not something that somebody dreamed up this morning or yesterday. It was after a closed session with legal counsel as to what the law requires us to do. Thank you.
Mr. Wilson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll get the button. I'll find it eventually. So the question I guess I would start with is a question that I think Ms. Schultz raised and Ms. McLaughlin raised, which is just the format. And we're taking action as a board to direct the superintendent. And just as a matter of process, perhaps the clerk can just clarify. Typically when we direct the formation of a committee or follow-on action after the budget, it's done through a motion. And I guess, is this proper in terms of the form of giving directions to the staff? Is this a... So we've done a bunch of resolutions tonight, but is it proper to, as opposed to a motion that acts through motions, right?
Yes,
the board?
you can do it this way.
It doesn't really matter. Is it just a matter of nomenclature then? Is that the distinction? Is there no distinction?
I don't know why it was done as a resolution, but it's allowed to be done as a resolution.
Okay, I'm just curious because we do sometimes we'll have a resolution, sometimes we'll have a motion. I think it's important for the public to know if there's no distinction, then that's appropriate. But I suppose it's appropriate if you this is how we would do it. I guess I'm going to support the motion because we do have to direct the staff to take action so that the election, and we comply with the law. But I do feel that this resolution, I guess I feel a little bit that this resolution wasn't discussed amongst the board in advance of this meeting, as far as I know. And so we're coming to it today with having seen it on board docs when it was posted. And so it's a little bit frustrating to me that there wasn't an opportunity to have a discussion as a board.
Okay, I will speak last. I support this vehicle because it helps to lay out for the public in a public document rather than simply a motion to petition the court. This document lays out publicly what the law requires and why the petition is to ask for an election on August 29th. And therefore, this provides more information to the public, the explanation of the code, and what is required, rather than just simply asking for a writ of election. So this helps to explain the law. Mr. Moon.
As a partial response to perhaps Mr. Wilson's question, how the board has not had a really talk about this resolution. I think this is the first regular meeting after the resignation. We had a closed meeting to get a legal advice from Division Counsel a couple of days ago after the work session. And then this is the first regular meeting. And since we have to file a petition within 15 days, probably this is the last regular meeting we can have this discussion too.
Madam Chair, if I could just one comment on that, because I am concerned about the transparency of the board. And I mean, I'm just reading the board. Some of these matters don't seem to fit squarely within topics that would be discussed in closed session, such as the board strongly prefers the election be held in November to reduce election costs and increase voter turnout. That just seems like a discussion of the board, not a matter that would be discussed in closed session. And I did miss the last closed meeting. I came at the very end, but it doesn't seem like a topic that should have been discussed in closed session, because I think the public deserves a conversation about how a resolution like this is crafted.
Okay, seeing no further discussion, I will call for the vote. And all those in favor of the resolution as read, directing the Division Council to file a petition with the Circuit Court of Fairfax County for issuance of a writ of election to authorize a special election. All those in favor? Hines, Palchek, Corbett Sanders, Strauss, Evans, Move, McLaughlin, Wilson, Derenak Colfax, McElveen. Those opposed? Abstention? Ms. Schultz, the motion carries. Thank you, and I return the gavel back to Ms. Evans.
Thank you, Mrs. Strauss. We now go to item 4.03, and I call on Mr. Moon for the motion.
Please bear with me, Madam Chair. Let me go to that. I move that the school board adopt regulation 26.01.31P, student rights and responsibilities as detailed in the agenda item.
Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. McElveen. Mr. Moon, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just briefly, this is based upon school board's annual review of student rights and responsibilities. We do that in the spring of each year. That, this time, the suggested changes which are included in the agenda item are just minor and to be in compliance with the state code. Just a couple of points which are on the bold doc. Let me read that. In section 5. We are removing the last paragraph, starting with the students are expected and ending with, or if fund for such a session. The rationale behind that is that particular item deals with summer school attendance. In previous years, students who were absent from summer school for more than 2 days were withdrawn and did not receive credit or refund. Over time, the types of summer programs we offer have expanded, and each program has its own expectations for the attendance. That is why we are including that change. The second point I want to make is for the chapter 1A2B2 in the footnote section. That is only to be compliant with the state code, where state legislature now requires all school principals to furnish notice regarding status of the investigations regarding bullying, discriminatory harassment, and sexual harassment, and communicate that with the parents within 5 days.
Mr. McElveen?
Nothing further.
Ms. McLaughlin?
So I know that this year the SR&R just has some minor changes, but I did want to share with my colleagues that it was brought to my attention last year that regrettably we had a number of students who lost their opportunity to walk across the stage and celebrate their graduation due to an alcohol infraction that occurred within 30 days of graduation. And it is something that other school systems and ours do face each year, especially when high school proms happen within 30 days of the graduation. I do hope with our new superintendent that this board and the leadership team that we will be looking at the SR&R and our practices with that, because I think thankfully we live in a country where our court system looks at mitigating circumstances. And when you have young people who have sterling academic records and discipline records, and they make one mistake and lose that ability to participate in the graduation for what amounts to typically in an academic year a 5-day suspension and 30-day restriction from school activities. I think we need to be really examining what it means to take away the ability to participate and celebrate in graduation. I do know of one of the high schools in my district that prom was held outside of the 30 days, which means we take away that sort of carrot and the stick of encouraging kids, don't drink at prom because you could lose graduation. Well, since it was outside of the 30 days, one might think you might see more alcohol infractions because they don't risk losing graduation. In fact, there were no alcohol infractions. And I think that is, again, just one data point, but it really does warrant having a thoughtful, evidence-based conversation about discipline, consequences, and really, again, thinking about what we want to do as a society. I am not a believer of zero tolerance. I never have been. And I do think that it is so important when it comes to student discipline cases, and especially something that's a 5-day suspendable offense, that we should be enabling our administrators and our leaders to look at these on a case-by-case basis. Or we might even go so far as to say, we just don't believe in taking away graduation from students unless we're talking about more serious offenses. But so I wanted my colleagues to know that this is something that is important. And Dr. Brabrand, our new incoming superintendent, has built his reputation at his former school district, City of Lynchburg, for looking at restorative justice practices for students. And so I will welcome his engagement with us before next year's Student Rights and Responsibilities is refined or reviewed and passed.
Mrs. Corbett-Sanders? Okay, Mrs. Schultz.
And I want to thank my colleague, Ms. McLaughlin, because she and I have spent over a year on this issue. We tried very hard to bring this up again. I wished that we had known early enough in advance that we could have gotten it into an update in the Students' Rights and Responsibilities. A caring culture doesn't treat children with the start off of a mentality of a carrot and a stick, because that means you have a stick. And graduation is the penultimate capstone experience of a student in Fairfax County Public Schools. And for a student to reach graduation and have the graduation season and have an error in judgment, and they're minors, almost all of them, they're going to be errors in judgment. It comes with the territory. And to lose graduation, lose prom, lose all your senior activities, lose your baccalaureate, lose your membership in school clubs for something that if it happened 45 days earlier, you would have had a reasonable and proportional response, is something I cannot accept. I don't see that it's proportional. It's re-education instead of education. And I do look forward to, as kind and willing to entertain our conversation as Dr. Lockard and Dr. Ramey were this year, it is something that I think that we do have to take care of, just like we're taking care of this change. There were students who desperately needed summer school, and a disproportionality was observed that if they missed just a fraction of classes, and these are the kids that need it the most, if they missed a fraction of the classes, they were effectively expelled from the rest of the summer. Instead of meeting kids' needs where they are. And things happen in students' lives, and students make bad decisions. Our job is to educate, not to adjudicate. And so this is a good change. This is one that was needed. It was one that was met with open eyes. But there's more that needs to come. So I look forward to working on some of this in the future.
All right, seeing no other members wishing to speak, I'm going to call for the vote on the motion that the school board adopt Regulation 2601.31P, Student Rights and Responsibilities, as detailed in the agenda item. All those in favor, raise your hand. That vote is unanimous and the motion passes. Thank you. We now go to item 4.04, revisions to policy 8170.6, facilities planning, naming school facilities and dedicating areas of school facilities or grounds. And I call on Ms. McLaughlin for the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. I move that the board approve the revisions to policy 8170.6, facilities planning, naming school facilities and dedicating areas of school facilities or grounds as detailed in the agenda item.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Moon. Ms. McLaughlin, would you like to speak to your motion?
Briefly at this time. It's very appropriate that both Mr. Moon and I are proposing this and seconding it because he was the former governance chair who worked very hard with me and the other members of the governance committee, and then I inherited the mantle as governance chair on something that's been well over a year now, and the board's efforts to take direction, helpful guidance from our board of supervisors who said, listen, we know of other school systems in the area that sell their stadium naming rights. It brings in needed revenue. We know that there's a need for revenue in our school system and in our county as a whole. And so, we really hope that the school board will look into that matter. And so while it was a little more complicated than we initially thought, I am very pleased with the proposal that is before our colleagues in terms of this revision, most importantly because as we look at the sale of naming rights and making sure that we are providing an opportunity for those who would like to purchase this advertising opportunity at a competitive market rate, but that the revenue, when it comes in, then the board has a responsibility to really ensuring that the revenue goes to the greatest need within our schools. And so the change in this policy is going to focus on how do we direct that revenue and ensure equity, and really focusing on what's mission critical to our facility needs. So I do hope that because this policy change, I think, does mirror what we've talked about as our joint efforts with the Board of Supervisors on a one Fairfax mindset, that my colleagues will support the proposed changes to the motion this evening.
Mr. Moon, would you like to speak to your second?
Just briefly, Madam Chair. I am really glad that we are, this particular draft policy is up for vote this evening, whether it gets voted up or down. We are making a decision because this has been going on for close to a year and a half, 18 months, that, state of naming rights, the Fairfax County's public schools has never done. So this is the first time, but we are attempting to put in place a policy to accommodate, potential state of naming rights, as we have never done this, but that we do not know what this would bring to us, and if we need to make adjustments as we actually get some requests from businesses or individuals out there, that we'll make adjustments as needed, but I'm glad that we are putting something forward this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Palchik.
Yes, I also am very glad this is up for vote. It's been quite a bit of work, but I think good work. And unlike Mr. Moon, I'm happy and I hope this passes. I do want to thank our chair and our committee members and everyone who's been involved in this process, on staff and at our schools. This is something new, and I know we don't want to lose good for the great, but I do think this has been a long but hopefully successful process. It's hard to know exactly what will happen, but this morning, and we wish we weren't here. This morning I attended a panel with moderated by Dr. Jerry Gordon of the Fairfax County Economic Development Authority, and he told the businesses there in attendance, it really is time to step up and support our schools. We are looking at revenue gaps that are not going to be filled at the state and local level. And so I really do hope that not only will my colleagues join us in voting for this, but that our members of the business community will step up, take this opportunity, speak with us and with staff if you have questions or concerns. But I do really hope this will be fruitful and help provide a new source of revenue for our school system.
Mrs. Corbett-Sanders.
Thank you. This has been a painful process as we've gotten here, and I want to thank the Governance Committee for sticking with it and appreciate both the actions of Mr. Moon and Ms. McLaughlin along these lines. But I also want to really encourage my colleagues at this table about the distribution of the proceeds that will be realized in the sale of naming rights. These are the sale of naming rights to properties that are owned by all of the taxpayers of Fairfax County. And so we need to, as we look at the distribution from the sale of these rights, to look at it with an equity lens. And so I am optimistic that with the clarifications that were made and the changes that were made, to have the disbursement of all of the funds to be put into a facilities fund for the maintenance and enhancement of school facilities. That's for all school facilities. That's not for a single school facility. And that the disbursement of these funds will be approved by the school board. And as we look at the disbursement of the funds, I encourage everybody to look at them in an equity lens. Thank you.
Ms. Schultz.
Well, so I guess I have a question for the maker of the motion, because we're sort of a little bit silent on this. And so the anticipation is then we're just going to work all the money out later. Is that correct?
So the beauty of this motion is that the funds will go into a special facilities fund that is under the direct authority and decision-making of the board. And so in terms of what we would sell the naming right at, that will be done by staff who do the market analysis and determine what is the appropriate amount to contract a sale. And then, yes, that we will, it's my understanding that staff will work with the board in providing an identified list of facility needs and recommendations. Certainly when we're looking at the naming rights at particular schools, that will also take into account the needs at those schools. But it really is important that we have a holistic view.
So, you know, this is just one of those things that because I actually talked about this, I think, several years ago, multiple times. So we've gotten here, but again, this is one of those processes, and it's no one's particular fault, but it's a little bit, you know, clear as block glass, because it's going to go into a fund, and we're going to decide later. And I mean, I'm saying things that everybody at this board table already knows, but the public doesn't necessarily know some of the deliberations that have been held in closed session. And I guess maybe from a similar perspective as Ms. Corbett-Sanders, I do have concerns, because we always talk about we can't put things on the table of teachers without taking things off. Well, the same, and Mr. Foster, you're one I've just recently had this conversation with, putting things on the table of staff. And they're going to come up with a menu, and they're going to do a market analysis, and they're going to price it, and. Well, somebody is a they, and we've just put this on somebody's plate. And I predict, you know, this is a Karnak envelope to the head, I predict, at some point in the not too distant future that somebody from central office is going to come and say, this is a much bigger deal than we thought, and we're going to have to fund a central administration position in order to go get money. Now, maybe in the end, like a foundation, you have to pay somebody to run a foundation in order to go get money, and it'll work out. But we're sort of in a nebulous, part of this policy making, that we're sort of making this to allow things to happen, and we're not exactly sure how it's going to work out. And we hope it works out great. We really do hope it works out great. But we have board members who are worried about the quote-unquote equity lens, and I'm not exactly sure what that means. Does that mean, kind of the redistribution of wealth? Because I potentially have a problem with that, but I don't know, because it's just going to go into a fund. Now, I think this needs to be done. I think maybe we did as best a job as we could, given, the fact that maybe we didn't have a lot of best practices, maybe from someplace else in the country, that could have made this a little bit more turnkey for us. But I ask members of the public, I ask businesses, to cautiously keep an eye on this and hold us accountable, that there's going to be a pot of money somewhere that people are going to contribute as sponsors. And I honestly don't care if we have Gillette Stadium and FH for billboards, and I don't care. Put the freaking signs on the sides of buses, I say, and bring in, additional resources into the system. But you got to sort of have a clear plan on how that money's going to be spent. And I think you hear some hesitation from Ms. Corbett-Sanders. You hear some hesitation from me that we're going to have to be particularly judicious with board decisions on a going forward basis. And the only way we're going to be particularly judicious is if the public knows that we're going to be making this decision with any incoming money after staff is tasked with, I don't know, if you're going to come up with, a menu of options that, a basketball backboard costs this and a stadium costs that and the back of a bus costs this. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to see. But I have a little bit of a sense of, this is a good thing, but I have a little asterisk next to it as a warning sign to ourselves to be good governors of the school system and to practice good governance after we pass this policy.
Well, I appreciate your concerns, Ms. Schultz, and I will say that part of why this was taking over a year to get out of governance is because we started to try and tackle not just the policy, but the regulation, which is the operationalization of how we would do this, which for anybody out there wondering what the lingo is, policy is what we say at a macro level, the regulation is how staff carries it out. And what we realized was we already sell access for cell tower on our properties. It's not something that hasn't occurred before that we sell access to our properties and facilities. So staff has a model through the cell tower on how to do that. It's great that you're concerned about staff workload. We all are. But what it came down to the end that the governance committee recognized was we have one simple choice in front of us. Do we want to seek out some additional revenue or we don't? And Ms. Schultz, I would welcome you going back to the supervisors and saying, nope, we thought it would be too complicated. We're not going to sell naming rights. We thought that was an untenable response. So the question is, we're going to go ahead and go forward selling naming rights. There is a school district in Wisconsin that has an awesome how-to guide, and it even gives you a menu of you can purchase this and this and this, and we can use that as a prototype. But right now we're just talking about stadium naming rights, and I do have faith and trust that Mr. Plattenberg and our finance office and anyone else who's going to be involved in it, they'll be able to help us, and if it turns out to be problematic in terms of workload, then our wonderful new superintendent, Dr. Brabrand, will be sure to come communicate to the board.
Ms. Derenak Kovacs.
I appreciate all of my colleagues' work on this, and it has been a difficult process. I think what we have here is a good start, and it can always be amended and changed. To my colleagues, Ms. Schultz, I don't think Ms. Sanders meant what equity didn't mean a redistribution of wealth. It is a fair distribution of funds contributed to our schools. So with that, I will be supporting this. And we are infamous for creating more work for ourselves, and this will be that. But I think at least we're at the point we know we have some donors that are anxious to help us out, and we're doing this in this manner so we can get their support. And I'm happy to hear Ms. McLaughlin. I must have missed the meeting when the Wisconsin. I know there's best practices out there, and while we like to develop many of our own, I would love a best practice model that we can get started with and then can adapt accordingly to Fairfax standards. So I'll be supporting it.
Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I would like to start by thanking my fellow members of the Governance Committee. I joined the Governance Committee when I started on the board, and so I've been on this project the entire 18 months. And so I am very grateful to have this policy before us tonight. I think it is definitely a terrific first step and frankly, long overdue. And I think that it will be a policy that we will need to look at as we go forward, because it does provide for a mechanism of fund allocation that is left up to the determination of the board. And as a board, that presents the issue that we have to have that discussion every time funds come up, I assume. So I suspect we will end up revising that in some way and to think about how that mechanism might work. And of course, as staff moves forward to develop the regulations, including sample contracts that would be used in each case, hopefully we'll flesh out some of the parameters and requirements associated with that. But I think as a board, we have been slow to get out into the business community and to promote the naming rights aspect of our school system, and I think for me it's high time that we move forward with the policy.
Right, and I too would like to thank the members of the Governance Committee for their hard work on this. I do think it ended up being more complex than we realized when we started down this road, so we do appreciate you sorting through the many threads of this. And I do believe that whatever we do, we need to look at issues through an equity lens. So that's something that we will need to be cognizant of. I think one of our models is with the synthetic turf task force, which Ms. McLaughlin also served on, where we recognize that not all schools have the same ability to raise funds. And so we need to be cognizant of that in everything we do and make sure that we have a fair distribution of our fundraising. So I will be supporting this with my thanks to the Governance Committee. And with that, I will call for the vote on the motion to approve the revisions to policy 8170.6. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that vote is unanimous and the motion passes. We now turn to what?
We're all glad that there was unanimous.
Oh, yes. No, yes, okay. Yeah,
because remembering,
yes,
18 months ago,
yes,
we are going 12
we do.
different
So
directions. Congratulations
again. So we turn to 4.04, revisions to Regulation 1410, procedures for reporting and investigating embezzlement, fraud, waste, or abuse and other financial wrongdoings, and I call on Ms. Hines for the motion.
Thank you. Now, this item has not been hanging fire as long as the one we just voted on, but I think the Audit Committee feels like it's been around for a while, and we've been working on it. I move that the board approve the revisions to Regulation 1410, procedures for reporting and investigating embezzlement, fraud, waste or abuse, and other financial wrongdoing as detailed in the agenda item.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Mrs. Corbett Sanders. Ms. Hines, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, just briefly. The board had a chance to look at this pretty closely at our work session a couple weeks ago. And board members, this is after months of the audit committee making, and the Office of the Auditor General making significant changes to the original regulation to better reflect what the board believes should be in it. Board members made some suggestions at our work session, and if you look at the agenda item, I think you will see that those changes have been highlighted on there. So I believe that they reflect the thoughts of board members, so I hope that my colleagues will support this regulation.
Mrs. Corbett Sanders, would you like to speak to your second?
Yes, I would actually like to thank Chair Hines as well as the diligent staff in the legal department. Mr. Foster, we can't thank you enough for all of your hard work in helping us to get to where we're at with this regulation. And this is a complementary piece of policy that we dealt with about 6 weeks ago as far as establishing the role of the Auditor General Charter. And so I am happy to support this, and I think it lays the foundation for a successful new Auditor General that will start next month.
Mrs. Strauss.
I want to thank the Audit Committee, Ms. Hines, Ms. Corbett Sanders, and everybody else, and Mr. Foster. There was a great deal of work that needed to be done in adjusting regulations and policies, and it will be all in place for our new Auditor General. So you've done a fine job on this regulation, and I'm very grateful for all the heavy lifting. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Schultz, did you have? No. Okay. Yes? Okay. Yes, Mrs. Schultz.
Yes, I did. Of all of the policies, I hope this one's used the least.
And with that, I will call for a vote on the motion to approve the revisions to Regulation 1410. All those in favor, please raise your hand. That vote is unanimous with Ms. Derenak-Kofax away from the table, and that motion passes. We now turn to the consent agenda. Our adopted rules of parliamentary procedure, Robert's Rules, provide for a consent agenda listing several items for approval of the board by a single motion. Many items listed have gone through board review, and documentation has been provided to all board members and the public in advance. Items may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any board member prior to the meeting. 5.01, additional appointments. Appoint individuals to serve on committees as detailed in the agenda item. 5.02, award of contract, Luther Jackson Middle School Science Lab Conversions Project. Award a contract for the Luther Jackson Middle School Science Lab Conversions Project to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Juniper Construction Company, Inc., in the amount of $323,753, and authorize the division superintendent or the assistant superintendent of facilities and transportation services to execute, deliver, and administer the contract on behalf of the school board. Is there any objection to the consent agenda? Hearing and seeing none, the consent agenda is approved. The next item of business is new business. The following are new business agenda items. There will not be a vote tonight on these items, but action is scheduled for a future meeting. 6.01, appointments to school board citizen advisory committees. Recommendation to appoint individuals to serve for a one-year term ending June 30th, 2018. On the adult and community education, advanced academic programs, career and technical education, human resources, minority student achievement oversight, school health, and students with disability advisory committees is listed in the agenda item. 6.02, Stewart High School renaming. The school board will now consider the reports and what action, if any, they will take on this item. In the work session on June 12th, the school board will hear from members of the ad hoc committee. The school board will make a determination for future action. 6.03, agreement with FH Fur for McLean High School. Approve the naming rights agreement between FH Fur Plumbing, Heating and Air Conditioning, Inc. and the Fairfax County School Board and the McLean High School Athletic Boosters. 6.04, proposed restatement of the Educational Employees of Fairfax County Defined Benefit Plan, ERFC, and ERFC 2001. Approve proposed restated plan documents for ERFC and ERFC 2001. 6.05, appointment of individual trustee to the Board of Trustees of the Educational Employees Supplementary Retirement System of Fairfax County. Approve the appointment of Michael Burke to the ERFC Board of Trustees for a one-year term beginning July 1, 2017. 6.02, reappointment to Board of Trustees of the Educational Employees Supplementary Retirement System of Fairfax County. Approve the appointment of Susan Kristen Michael and Marty Smith to the ERFC Board of Trustees for a one-year term beginning July 1, 2017 and ending June 30, 2018. 6.07, agreement with U.S. Soccer Foundation for mini pitch play area of North Springfield Elementary School. Approve the installation of a mini pitch play area with associated logos per the drawings and specifications previously submitted to and approved by the Office of Design and Construction Services, and authorize the division superintendent or the assistant superintendent of Facilities and Transportation Services, either of whom may act without the other, to negotiate, execute, and administer on behalf of the school board the grant agreement and any related agreements in connection with the mini pitch at North Springfield Elementary School. We now go to superintendent matters, and I call on Dr. Lockhart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple of announcements this evening. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, part of the Department of Interior, recently recognized FCPS on their significant environmental achievements. They cited the following awards: the EPA Energy Star Partner of the Year, the Green Ribbon School District, and Get to Green. They indicated they've worked closely with Elaine Tholen, our Program Manager for Environmental Stewardship, on some very successful partnerships. So congratulations to Elaine, also Jeff Plattenberg, and all the FCPS staff on their efforts. Meantime, Carson Middle, Frost Middle, and Marshall High Schools have earned the National Wildlife Federation's Eco Schools USA Green Flag Award for exceptional achievement in greening physical structures and grounds, conserving natural resources, and integrating environmental education into curriculum. To date, Fairfax County Public Schools has 105 registered eco-schools. FCPS nominated 3 groups for the VDOE Career and Technical Education Creating Excellence Awards. All 3 groups won for Region 4. The awards luncheon was held today in Richmond, and the winners were: for Business Partner, Systemic Solutions, Advisory Committee, Marshall Academy, STEM Advisory; for Classroom, Chantilly Academy, Robotics. And so we'll let you know how these groups fared in the state competition moving forward. Certainly like to reiterate on behalf of the leadership team, we share the excitement welcoming Dr. Brabrand back to FCPS. We've already begun that transition work. And we are looking forward to working with and supporting Dr. Brabrand in continuing to advocate the incredible things happening for students in FCPS. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you. And before we go to our next item, I wanted to recognize former school board member Ted Velkoff, who's in the audience. Ted, why don't you stand up? Thank you so much for joining us today. So we have no board reports tonight, so we will now go to board matters, and I call on Ms. Hines.
I will pass tonight, thanks.
Ms. Palchik?
I just want to thank Real Food for Kids for their welcoming me to their meeting on Monday and having a very productive conversation. Look forward to our continued work to support our kids. Thank you.
Ms. Schultz?
I'll pass tonight.
Ms. Corbett-Sanders?
Just a quick shout out to the 20 recent graduates of Quandah Road School. It was a great event the other day as we saw them matriculate. And I would also like to give a shout out of congratulations to my neighbor, Emma Cuddy, who received a National Merit Scholarship Award.
Mrs. Strauss.
I'd like to congratulate again all the wonderful, wonderful, outstanding employees who we honored last night. It was an excellent event. And Mr. Ramey, thank you very much. You were a great master of ceremonies. And all the people I know in HR and communications who worked so hard to put on a wonderful grand event, again, to celebrate the excellence we have in our school division, our teachers, our employees, support employees, people in our schools, bus drivers, our principals of the year, our teachers of the year. It was a wonderful, wonderful event. Thank you very much.
Ms. McLaughlin?
Yes, I first want to thank my amazing parent advocates in the audience this evening from Laurel Ridge Elementary and other schools too. Excellent. It is a very important health issue that they're here tonight, and it has to do with recess, adequate recess, especially for our elementary school students. And so I know it is something that the Student Health Advisory Committee is looking into in terms of ensuring adequate elementary school recess. It's something that Dr. Jane Lipp, who has been heading up our Department of Special Services, has also been very supportive of our improvements and efforts to really ensure that our children not only it helps with their physical health, but their mental health, their academic success. And so I appreciate you guys stayed till the bitter end with your amazing signs. I was enjoying seeing them throughout the meeting. And your passion will help make a difference for the children, not in your own schools, but for the county as well. So I look forward to our continued work together. I also want to just spotlight the fact that it's very exciting that on Saturday, June 17th, Fairfax County will be celebrating its 275th birthday. And it's someone who's a native Californian. One of the things that drew me to the East Coast was not only my father's Boston roots, but also the fact that as an American history major, I absolutely love the history on the East Coast. And to be here and be able to celebrate on Saturday, June 17th with so many of our Fairfax County residents, I just find very exciting. So I encourage those of you who are interested in coming to join the celebration, make sure that you visit the Fairfax County government website where they'll have more details on it. I sent something out in one of my recent news updates, but I think we should also, perhaps Dr. Lockhart, make sure that we as a school system perhaps try to add that to our calendar, because it's something that I think the school communities will want to be celebrating with the larger community. And then finally, that before we will meet as a full board in 2 weeks, it will have been Father's Day. And so I want to wish all three of the gentlemen on our board, because Mr. McElveen now will be having his official first Father's Day, I believe, that you all have a wonderful Father's Day with your families. And to Mr. Lockhart and myself, and as we heard Dr. Brabrand, there are those of us who have lost our fathers, but it doesn't mean we won't be thinking about them and feeling very blessed about the role models that they were in our lives. And to Dr. Lockhart, I hope your children will be honoring you and recognizing what an amazing dad they have.
Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, thank you, Mrs. McLaughlin, for that Father's Day note. You know, as a father of 4 kids, it always struck me each year that Mother's Day was always a much bigger deal. So I appreciate that. I also want to thank the recess folks out here, because I've been watching your signs all evening, and I'm wondering whether or not it precipitated the board to move through the agenda items quicker, because we all want to get to recess. Which is greatly appreciated, because I want to get to recess. So with that, I'm going to say just a thank you once again to Dr. Lockhart for being sort of the steady man at the helm during these months from the departure of our previous superintendent, and we are also optimistic now with our new superintendent, but that it would have been a much more difficult period had we not had someone like you who, with a calm focus, addressed issues as they came up, and there was sort of a no drama period, which was really terrific. So thank you.
Ms. Darren Kovacs.
Thank you. And Dr. Lockhart, I echo what Mr. Wilson said. Thank you for your supreme leadership during this time. We really appreciate it. Also, I want to just tell you a little bit about what I've been doing. I want to thank my colleagues, Mr. Moon and Mr. McElveen, who joined me last weekend in Edison's Got Hope Walkathon. That is a student-run event in support of Crisis Link and Life with Cancer. So thank you both for coming out and supporting that. I had a meeting with homeowners associations in Burgundy Farm Woods, and I want to thank Mr. Terry Dade and Mr. Mark Greenfelder for assisting me and providing them data of the good things we're doing in their community. I was proud to attend my first graduation at Quander Road School, and so that was very inspirational. Yesterday, Ms. McLaughlin and I attended a 6-hour skipped retreat to align our priorities, and we can talk to you more about that at another time. I also attended with several of my colleagues the Fairfax Honors, and I was really proud to recognize our stellar employees at this event, and congratulations to all the Region 3 winners. Thank you so much. And thanks to staff for putting this on. And Chase, you were amazing and very fun to see. It's just fun to see when you see someone else's other side, and you did a great job. So thank you for that. And I want to say that I look forward to many more graduations that will be coming up in the next few weeks, including a very special one for my daughter who will be graduating from Edison High School. So best of luck to all of those students out there who will be leaving the Fairfax family, Fairfax County Public Schools family, and you will soon become our role models for our portrait of a graduate. I wish you all the best of luck in your life's next adventures, and I look forward to seeing many of you on your graduation day.
Mr. McElveen?
Pass.
Mr. Moon, would you?
I just want to report back to you, Madam Chair, that I was taking a little recess back there. Having an adequate recess is always good, and I was doing just that. And also, I want to thank Mrs. McLaughlin for wishing Happy Father's Day. Thank you.
I too want to thank the recess advocates. This is something that's been near and dear to my heart for many years, starting with when I was on the School Health Advisory Committee as a parent and an advocate myself, and anybody who knows me knows how strongly I feel about student health. So I agree with you. I will say that we need to have recess for all of our kids, and it needs to be an adequate amount of time. So thank you for coming out and advocating. I also want to say how wonderful it was to be at the FCPS Honors last night. It was just a beautiful ceremony, and to hear the stories of so many of our stellar employees, and of course we have so many more. But it was very heartening, and Dr. Ramey, you were a great MC. We appreciated your style and your humor, and Dr. Lockhart, you did a great job. So I want to say it gets better and better every year, and I appreciate that. And other than that, I want to say that I'm very much looking forward to attending graduations in the next couple of weeks. That's always a capstone of the year, and to congratulate our students on their great success. After this meeting, we are going to go into forum because we weren't able to get to it ahead of time. But with that, this meeting is adjourned.